What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 9SP Chapter 201 Let the Ashes Be Wiped Out, The Ground Wind. The screen shifts to the team building of Division 9. White. Is Ling Yun here? Shouldn't the appointment be missed? Muguruma Kensai's impatient voice came from the captain's team office. Wearing the captain's haori, he was pacing back and forth in the room with a complicated expression on his face. There is both irritability and anticipation. Ling Yun did not guess wrong. The iron-headed baby Muguruma Kensai. The reason why she took the initiative to find Ling Yun was really just to fight. Actually this year, Muguruma Kensai came to her door more than once, but was rejected by Ling Yun every time. After many times, he was naturally not happy, so this time he went directly to Sister Wa, intending to ask Yunohana Retsu to come forward to facilitate this matter. Muguruma Kensai's small thoughts can't be hidden from the layers. Of course, the reason for Ling Yun's refusal is also very simple: you are too strong, I can't beat you. Nervous Muguruma Kensai naturally does not believe this excuse. He hoped to defeat Ling Yun dignifiedly, that's why the scene just now happened. Kenshi, you're thinking about farts, when did you agree? Kuna Mashiro, who was wearing a deadly costume, jumped in front of him and rolled his eyes. It seems to be the same. Muguruma Kensai froze for a moment. In fact, from the beginning to the end, it was all his unilateral wishful thinking. Before the fourth team even sent back the news, he was waiting anxiously. Bye, what do you think? Muguruma Kensai frowned and asked hesitantly, should I take the initiative to find the door? Wouldn't that be too reckless? I don't think so. Ling Yun is only the third seat, so as not to cause dissatisfaction with Captain Yunohana Retsu. Kuna Mashiro looked in awe when Sister Hua's name was mentioned. In fact, she has heard the name, Yunohana Retsu, since she was sensible. It was even hundreds of years ago, and there is still no change until now. Even in the eyes of other captain-level Shinigami, Sister Hua's status is still unshakable. She is the person with the highest prestige besides the captain, and is admired by countless team members on weekdays. That's why Kuna Mashiro is in awe, she can't mess with things. Okay, then we have to wait. Muguruma Kensai looked helpless. He wished he could have a duel with Ling Yun immediately. Otherwise, the usual daily life is too boring. Of course a reckless man can't bear it, and at this time. In the aisle outside the gate of the team office, Ling Yun's voice suddenly came. Captain Kensai, Vice Captain Bai. The sudden door visit didn't disturb your rest, did it? Ling Yun's voice instantly caught the attention of the two of them. It's here, it's really here. Muguruma Kensai almost jumped up as if struck by lightning. He hurriedly looked outside the door excitedly, and Ling Yun's figure appeared within his line of sight. Ling Yun was dressed in a black deadly costume, with a Zanpakutō yanmo pinned to his waistband, and a smile on his handsome face. His appearance immediately caused a sensation. Ling Yun, 3 seats are coming. It seems he hasn't shown his face in months. I heard that this time I was invited by Captain Kensai. The members of the 9th squad surrounded each other intuitively, looking at Ling Yun's back and whispering. Under the captain-level Shinigami, Ling Yun is the most popular and one of the most popular topic figures in Jingling Court. Ling Yun, 3 seats, please come inside. Warm greeting from Muguruma Kensai. It's not necessary, Captain Kensai, let's get straight to the point. Ling Yun stood still and shook his head. What? Muguruma Kensai froze. He didn't expect Ling Yun to play cards completely out of routine. The original intention of the invitation is well known to everyone, so there is no need to waste time. Let's start before it gets dark, Ling Yun said with a smile. Okay, just as you said, let's start directly at the training ground. Muguruma Kensai gives a thumbs up. He was originally an impatient person, so he never played tricks, and Ling Yun's straightforwardness was exactly what he wanted. Let's go. Ling Yun nodded slightly. With the spectators watching, together with Muguruma Kensai and Kuna Mashiro, they walked to the training ground of the 9th squad. Soon after, in the center of the training ground, the two faced each other. Muguruma Kensai rolled up his sleeves, showing his well-defined muscles, and challenged Ling Yun. Ling Yun, you'd better tighten your nerves, my double iron fists won't show mercy. With a fiery personality, he directly reached out to touch the girdle, and pulled out the Zanpakutō that was inside. Boom! The terrifying Ryatsu at the captain level suddenly erupted like a surging sea wave, immediately blowing away the dust and gravel on the ground, and the scene was huge for a while. Ryatsu's intensity is not bad. Although shrouded in the opponent's Ryatsu aura, Ling Yun's expression remained calm. Undeniable. Muguruma Kensai's Ryatsu is very strong, but compared to Zaraki Kenpachi, it is still a level behind. Even Kenpachi's Ryatsu and Ling Yun can fight head-on, let alone Muguruma Kensai? Captain Kwangshi, do your best to attack. Ling Yun nodded slightly. What's the meaning, Ling Yun, aren't you going to use Zanpakutō? Muguruma Kensai questioned, frowning. That's not necessary. Ling Yun shook his head casually. Every word he said revealed a natural meaning. The meaning is obvious, you don't deserve it. Wow, the entire training ground was in an uproar. You know, This is the site of the Jufan team, and it is also the home field of Muguruma Kensai. Me and Mo Wangs can still say such confident words to the local snake. Ling Yun's strength is beyond everyone's expectations. Interesting. Muguruma Kensai's micro eyes. In front of all his subordinates, being so instigated by Ling Yun, his anger immediately rose. Ling Yun. Forget the tentative offensive, I will tell you with actions, sometimes you have to pay for being too arrogant. Muguruma Kensai held Zanpakutō tightly, and his momentum quickly climbed to the peak. Let's fly to ashes and smoke, the earth-shattering wind. With the fall of the Zanpakutō Shikai language, the Ryotsu in Muguruma Kensai's body condensed and formed on both sides of the blade, and suddenly turned into a hairspring-like turquoise blade, constantly circling around his body. Under the control of Muguruma Kensai, the blue blade floats and swings regularly. The speed at which the wind blade moved in the air even caused a sonic boom in the air. Its power can be seen from Madara Chi, Chapter 202 Strength and Weakness. Let's fly to ashes and smoke, the earth-shattering wind. With the fall of the Zanpakutō Shikai language, the Ryotsu in Muguruma Kensai's body condensed and formed on both sides of the blade, and suddenly turned into a hairspring-like turquoise blade, constantly circling around his body. In front of all the team members, Muguruma Kensai opened fire as soon as he came up, releasing Zanpakutō Shikai directly. Under his control, the blue sharp blade floats and swings regularly, like a blue silk floating in midair. The speed at which the wind blade moved in the air even caused a sonic boom in the air. The characteristics of the wind attribute are vividly displayed. Is this the Shikai of Duodifeng? It's so strong, it should be Zanpakutō, the strongest wind attribute, right? Hey, Captain Kensai's Zanpakutō is as sharp as his temper. Around the training field, the members of the 9th Division who were onlookers all had extremely exciting expressions. Or excited, or cheering, or looking forward to. The words of praise are endless, and the fishing reels in the entire training ground almost overwhelmingly support Muguruma Kensai. No way, who let this be the 9th team in the home field of Muguruma Kensai? Even putting aside all these, Ling Yun's arrogant behavior just now caused dissatisfaction among several team members. Is it true that you plan to move as soon as you come up? 027 felt the aura emanating from Muguruma Kensai's body, and Ling Yun's expression finally changed slightly. After all, he is the current captain of the 9th Division, even if his strength is far stronger than the opponent, he still needs to be given enough respect. To be reasonable, if the battle is too easy, he will find it boring. Indeed, Muguruma Kensai can only make Ling Yun really serious if he goes all out. Strangle of the wind. The gossamer-like cyan thread, like countless wind blades, attacked Ling Yun at an extremely fast speed, and even caused bursts of explosions, causing cracks to appear on the ground. As long as it is touched by the blade of wind, the cut place will burst. In the past, Muguruma Kensai has defeated countless opponents with one move, and finally took the position of captain of the 9th Division. His fighting style tends to be aggressive and violent, this time is the best proof. Hey, Captain Kensai, can't you calm down a little bit? What if you scratch Ling Yun's handsome face? Among all the people, only Kuna Mashiro is an exception, even as an adjutant. Still choose the face value. That's right, Kuna Mashiro turned into a nympho, chose to side with Ling Yun, and complained about his captain instead. Luckily Muguruma Kensai didn't hear it, otherwise it would definitely blow my lungs. Vice Captain Bai, are you afraid that you're not an insider? The 9th Division team next to them heard what Kuna Mashiro said just now, and everyone's heart twitched. When is this? There is still time to pay attention to appearance. Are you worthy of the position of lieutenant? The other side? Around the training ground. Bai, you idiot, you're still talking sarcastically at this time, do you really think I'm deaf? After glancing outside the barrier, Muguruma Kensai frowned displeased. He actually heard Kuna Mashiro complaining, more importantly. Muguruma Kensai was not very happy at all when Ling Yun evaded the powerful windblade strangulation before, so Kuna Mashiro's complaint just now was like adding fuel to the fire, which instantly made his mood worse. Ling Yun, is that an afterimage? Muguruma Kensai looked to the other side with a complicated expression. There also existed a Ling Yun, and exuded the same Ryotsu fluctuations, which looked very strange. Shunpo is approaching and afterimages appear. Muguruma Kensai had heard of this kind of thing, but it was Shihouin Yoruichi's story, but it happened to Ling Yun at this moment, which had a strong effect on him. Actually, it's just a blindfold, you don't need to take it to heart. The corners of Ling Yun's mouth raised slightly, and they exchanged polite business. Speaking of which, your Zanpakutō is much stronger than I expected. Shikai alone has such power. Humph, Ling Yun, you don't need to comfort me, BBC, I know exactly where the gap is. Muguruma Kensai frowned, and immediately became angry. He originally thought that Shikai could play a little role, but he didn't expect that even the opponent's Zanpakutō couldn't force it out. In desperation, seeing that Shikai is useless, because Che Guangxi decided not to keep his strength. So, Bankai, Iron Fist breaks the wind. Facing the uproar of the audience, Muguruma Kensai's Ryotsu climbed to the top, and immediately burst out all the Ryotsu in his body, directly entering the state of Bankai. Boom. The turquoise Ryotsu's strong wind directly submerged his body. If the barrier hadn't been set up in advance, just the momentum caused by Bankai would be enough to level the entire training ground. Is it Bankai if you disagree? This temper is really hot. The smile on Ling Yun's face deepened. Shikai doesn't interest him, but Bankai's words are different. Every time Bankai appears, it is an excellent opportunity, which means that he can reproduce the opponent's ability again. Soon, the Ryotsu storm gradually dissipated, and after entering the special Bankai state, Muguruma Kensai's appearance changed. The originally short Zanpakutō Duodifeng turned into two blades with teeth each, with white crawlers wrapped around its thick arms, and a huge armor on its back. This is a special Tekken breaking wind mode. It enables Muguruma Kensai to inject Ryotsu into the sharp blades of both fists, injecting Ryotsu into the opponent's body at the moment of punching, forming a powerful explosive hurricane. Not only can it easily destroy the surrounding buildings, but the wind can even affect the entire Karakura town, almost the best of Zanpakutō in the wind system. Ling Yun, the fun has just begun. I don't believe you haven't used Zanpakutō yet. Muguruma Kensai raised his fist blades in both hands, with a sinister smile on his dark face. Wind flash. The burly body full of muscles turned into a ray of floating breeze, and appeared in front of Ling Yun in an instant. The spiritual power of the fist blades in both hands exploded, and instantly blasted out a deadly punch. The hurricane vortex, visible to the naked eye, was like a terrifying shockwave, carrying the power to destroy everything, and blasted straight to Ling Yun's chest. Although the fighting style is somewhat simple and crude, Iron Fist Duangfeng is the nemesis of the Kido system. The close combat method eliminates any possibility of the host singing. There is no other way than being tough. This is Muguruma Kensai's intention too. He wants to force Ling Yun to use Zanpakutō. However, Ling Yun stood there motionless. Immediately afterwards, the surface of his body glowed with a jet-black luster. Under the blessing of Ryotsu, all the black luster gradually stares. Then under Muguruma Kensai's horrified eyes, it directly turned into a black vortex, covering every part of Ling Yun's body. The expected scene did not happen. Chapter 203 You are very handsome, next second we will be so beautiful. The expected scene did not happen. Although Muguruma Kensai used Bankai and launched a fierce offensive, the situation of the scene remained unchanged. Ling Yun stood motionless on the spot, with a relaxed expression on his face. A black vortex shrouded his body, disintegrating the offensive of Iron Fist Duangfeng while talking and laughing. This scene once again amazed the audience. What is this? Looking at the swirling black vortex on Ling Yun, Muguruma Kensai suddenly widened his eyes. The black light continuously emanates, giving people the feeling of staring directly into the abyss. Under his gaze, the black hair condensed by the wind blade disappeared quickly the moment it came into contact with the black light, disappeared. Devour. Everything disappeared completely. At this moment, Ling Yun seems to have become a human-shaped black hole, devouring all the spirits. Hey, what's going on? Kuna Mashiro, who was watching from the sidelines, blinked his eyes curiously, and pondered, is it the dark attribute? It shouldn't be. I remember that Yanmo's attribute is not this. With the same doubts, there are other members of the 9th squad. After all, it has been 3 years since he joined the team, and Ling Yun's deeds have long been spread throughout Jinglingding, and his Zanpakutō Yanmo is naturally no exception. Full attribute Zanpakutō, although it sounds more like a legend, but as the rumors continue to spread, it has gradually gained the recognition of most people, and Yanmo has also been exposed to a large extent. But, according to the public's perception, Yanmo's full attributes do not include the dark attribute. So here comes the problem. What is the matter with the black hole on Ling Yun? The screen returns to the center of the training ground. After a brief shock, Muguruma Kensai quickly calmed down. He stared at the black hole on Ling Yun's body and asked coldly, Ling Yun, have you been hiding your strength? Hidden strength? Ling Yun shook his head, do you think it's necessary? Hateful. Muguruma Kensai gritted his teeth. Although there was no hint of irony in Ling Yun's words, he just sounded displeased. You know, this is a member of Division 9, and it's his Muguruma Kensai's territory. As the saying goes, a strong dragon does not overwhelm a local snake. But Muguruma Kensai still knows the situation he is facing now. He is almost suppressed and has no power to fight back. Muguruma Kensai. Is this the only power your Iron Fist has? Looks like Bankai is just a fake. Ling Yun seemed to be standing in place, with almost no flaws in his body, but his momentum was rising steadily. Open black lens bracket black hole barrier close black lens bracket, talent effect. When releasing Ryotsu, there is a certain chance to be able to create a black hole that can swallow spiritual power, thus forming a special barrier. Upgraded black coffin before, the extra talent awakened gave him an absolute advantage. Ling Yun, stop looking down on people, I haven't done my best yet. Muguruma Kensai growled through gritted teeth. The indifference in Ling Yun's words made him, who has always been hot-tempered, sound particularly harsh. Boom, suddenly, a fierce momentum broke out, and Muguruma Kensai's Ryotsu rose from the ground. In order to get back to the field as soon as possible, he injected all his strength and planned to give it a go. The identity of the captain of the 9th Division. He is not allowed to lose in this duel. That's right. If Bankai only has that little power, it's really disappointing. Ling Yun showed a satisfied smile, and at the same time reached out to touch his girdle, and finally pulled out Zanpakutō Yanmo. Muguruma Kensai, who has gone all out, is finally qualified to let him draw his sword. Soon after. Periphery of the training ground. It's so powerful, I didn't expect the battle to be so stalemate. The members of Team 9th Division watching from the sidelines all expressed their sincere emotion. If it weren't for the establishment of a boundary barrier, the strong wind generated by the collision of the blades would be enough to blow their bodies away. By the way, Zanpakutō Yanmo is too strong, he can beat Captain Kensai to fight, but he used Bankai. Kuna Mashiro couldn't believe Ling Yun's calm performance. At this time, Yanmo is no longer in the form of a Teidao, but has become a red and black death scythe. Every time Yanmo swung it, it was accompanied by a bloody aura, tearing the air mightily, destroying all the wind blades with ease. Ask for flowers. Therefore, even in the state of Bankai, Muguruma Kensai is still suppressed. Once, twice, 3 times. As the number of frontal collisions increased, Muguruma Kensai felt more and more that something was wrong. What's going on? Is it my illusion? Muguruma Kensai held the short dagger in both hands, frowning at the death scythe. He suddenly felt that there were unusually familiar fluctuations in the Ryotsu emitted by Yanmo. That's right, that is the wave of the ground wind Bankai. Finally found out? The corners of Ling Yun's mouth rose slightly. This smile is self-evident, since it has been exposed, there is nothing to hide. Point 0. Relying on the characteristics of Yanmo, Ling Yun repeated his old tricks in this sparring, and once again absorbed the Bankai of Duan Difeng. This is also the 5th Bankai he absorbed. You are beautiful, but in the next second, I will be as beautiful as you. I didn't expect Duan Difeng to stumble one day. Muguruma Kensai was angry and funny. What is so angry is that Duan Difeng's power has been stolen. What's funny is that he initiated this discussion on his own initiative, and he has nowhere to talk to Roha. That is to say, Muguruma Kensai this wave of blood loss. Captain Kenshi. Since you've already discovered it, there's no need for me to keep hiding it. Ling Yun held the scythe of death in his hand, and his eyes revealed absolute confidence. Brush, he waved lightly, and a blood-colored wind blade burst out from the blade glowing with black light. This scene once again caused an uproar in the audience. Isn't it Duan Difeng's move? It's so weird, even the fluctuations are exactly the same, I can't see it? Finally, I have seen the power of Zanpakutō Yanma. The members of the 9th squad were talking about it. Amidst the uproar, the bloody wind blade was extremely powerful, crushing everything fiercely. The same power, different Ryotsu, especially when there is a gap, the defeat of Inch Kensai is inevitable. Chapter 204 The Second Soul Experiment. The next result is obvious. It didn't take long for Muguruma Kensai to lose, and finally became the loser of this sparring match. As for Ling Yun, there is no doubt that he made a lot of money, not only defeated the arrogant Quan Shi, but also successfully stole the opponent's Bankai. The 50-50 split in the Shinigami world, once again perfectly reproduces the ability. Ling Yun. Yanmo is too powerful, this time I am convinced to lose. Muguruma Kensai quit the Bankai form, no longer the arrogance at the beginning, only a bitter expression remained on his face. In front of his subordinates, he was forcefully defeated by Ling Yun, and he had nothing to say about the result. Captain Kensai is overrated. If you didn't deliberately let the water go, I wouldn't have won by chance. Ling Yun also put away Zanpakutō, and made a beautiful set of polite words. Not only praised Muguruma Kensai, but also did not forget to emphasize the final result. As soon as Ling Yun said this, Muguruma Kensai's face turned even redder, and she couldn't hold back a word after thinking for a long time. In desperation, he could only nod cheerfully, giving himself a step down. Ling Yun, Seat 3, come as a guest when you have time, you are always welcome in Team 9. Kuna Mashiro blinked mischievously, her liveliness was in stark contrast to Muguruma Kensai. Bye, you're a girl, can't you be a little more reserved? Muguruma Kensai rolled her eyes. For his adjutant, he really felt a headache. In Jinglingding, everyone didn't know that Ling Yun belonged to Sister Wa. Dare to compete with Captain Unohana Retsu, Kuna Mashiro probably has no clue in his heart. Okay, it's getting late, I should go back by then. Ling Yun glanced at the sky, it was already approaching evening, and the distant horizon was already stained with a blush. Slow down. Muguruma Kensai nodded. Ling Yun 3 seats, I promise you next time. Kuna Mashiro continued to throw a wink. Definitely, come and visit us if you have the opportunity. Faced with Kuna Mashiro's enthusiasm, Ling Yun broke into a cold sweat, and after some courtesy, he left in despair. He is afraid that if he stays, Kuna Mashiro will do even more excessive things. Night. As night fell, the stars twinkled. Taking advantage of the night, Ling Yun stopped by Team 12, where the Technology Development Bureau was located. His presence naturally elicited a warm reception. Ling Yun, I heard that you beat Captain Kensai in Team 9th Division today. Urahara Kazuki, wearing the captain's haori, brought a cup of hot tea to Ling Yun. Captain Urahara, did you get wind of it so soon? Ling Yun asked with a smile. Tisk tisk tisk. Don't you understand? Urahara Kazuki took a sip of hot tea and showed a proud smile. Since the establishment of the Technology Development Bureau, Yuri and I have led everyone to research and develop day and night, creating a unique monitoring system. Surveillance system? Ling Yun raised his eyebrows in surprise. This was the first time he heard the term, monitoring system. Indeed, before the establishment of the Technology Development Bureau, Gode 13's regulatory scope was limited to the Jingling Court, and it was difficult for Rukongai to touch. This is also the reason why, 2 years ago, the Juban team had a major change. But now the situation is completely different. With the establishment of the Technology Development Bureau and the research and development of the monitoring system, Gode 13's regulatory scope has covered the entire Soul Society. Not only Jinglingding, but also the entire Rukongai, a total of 320 blocks, all troubles are under surveillance. This is the benefit of the establishment of the Technology Development Bureau. It will be unclear for a while, but everything will be completely different in the future, and the order of Gode 13 will become more stable. Urahara Kazuki replied with a smile. Correct. Suddenly remembered something. Urahara Kazuki put down the teacup, suddenly his eyes lit up, and he continued, Ling Yun, do you still remember the virtual souls I specially asked you to collect during the expedition to Hueco Mundo? Ling Yun nodded slightly. Thanks to those souls, I have a new understanding of Shu and Shinigami's soul research in the past 2 years. Urahara Kazuki said more and more excitedly. At the end, he almost stood up and couldn't wait to drag Ling Yun to the lab. Brand new cognition. Ling Yun was immediately interested, and then asked curiously, Captain Urahara, could it be a new technological breakthrough in research? This time you guessed right. Urahara Kazuki nodded noncommittally. Ling Yun, do you still remember that soul experiment? Remember. Ling Yun frowned slightly. It was precisely because of that soul experiment that Void was accidentally born in his body, and it has not been resolved until today, like a time bomb lurking in the body. Fortunately, in the past year, the runaway phenomenon never happened again. The emptiness in Ling Yun's body seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. This 533 points even made Ling Yun extremely confused. Could it be? Hollow's crisis was resolved in such a mysterious way? At this moment, Urahara Kazuki continued the topic just now, and continued, Ling Yun, in the past year, with the cooperation of Yuri Sanshi, I have improved the machine at that time. Captain Urahara, what do you mean by this? Is that you plan to start the second soul experiment? Ling Yun asked tentatively. That's right, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Urahara Kazuki thought. The smile on his face deepened, and he said excitedly, Ling Yun, don't worry, after the improvement of the instrument, the stability is much stronger than before, enough to deal with any unexpected situation. Don't you want to do it once and for all? The reason put forward by Urahara Kazuki really made Ling Yun unable to refuse. There is a mine buried in his body, which can explode anytime and anywhere. Ling Yun naturally wants to deal with this hidden danger. After all, things like hollow are regarded as taboo behaviors in the Soul Society. Once exposed, they will be severely punished, ranging from imprisoned in the endless purgatory, to severe cases even sentenced to death. Ling Yun hopes that through this opportunity, Hollow's problem can be solved perfectly once and for all. Chapter 205 became a guinea pig again, soon after. The lowest floor of the Technology Development Agency building. The situation here is completely different from the ground. It is a hidden space made of murderous stones, and the outside is covered with multiple barriers, which can shield all Ryotsu fluctuations. The brand new basement was built by Urahara Kazuki and Kuretsuchi Mayuri, who took a total of nearly a year, a lot of hard work and financial resources. On weekdays, except for the store manager, Kuretsuchi Mayuri, no one else has the right to set foot. All the secrets are hidden here too. How is it? The environment is not bad, right? I have tried my best to restore the scene of the small hidden base at the foot of the Shuangji Hill. Urahara Kazuki said with a smile. Ling Yun looked around, nodded with satisfaction, and said, it's not bad, except that there are more equipment. The hot spring over there is really pleasing to the eye. After finishing speaking, Roha looked to the north, where there were several steaming hot springs, and a thick cloud of fog was floating above them. The materials of these hot springs are exactly the same as before, with special medical effects, completely imitating the balneotherapy hot springs in Keilin Hall. It is worth mentioning that, when building these hot springs, there was strong opposition from Kuretsuchi Mayuri, who even felt that it was unnecessary. Scientific research has always been sloppy, and there are cavitation hot springs. For this reason, Urahara Kazuki spent a month trying to convince the pervert scientists. This is the scene that Ling Yun sees now. Captain Urahara, over there should be the test area. Ling Yun asked, looking to the other side. Within his line of sight, many large instruments appeared, as well as colorful experimental catheters, as well as the familiar soul absorber. Apparently, this area is associated with hollow and soul experiments. Sure enough, Ling Yun's guess was correct, which was quickly confirmed by Urahara Kazuki. Urahara Kazuki nodded, and said with a smile, Ling Yun, looking at those instruments should have a feeling of déjà vu, right? Almost 2 years have passed. Yeah, time flies so fast, I didn't expect that 2 years have passed. Ling Yun nodded as if feeling the experience, and then said doubtfully, but having said that, in the past year or so, the Hollow Riot has never happened again. Never showed up. Urahara Kazuki raised an eyebrow. Captain Urahara, don't look at me like that. Actually, I don't know the reason. Hollow's power seems to have disappeared suddenly. Ling Yun spread his hands helplessly. In fact, Ling Yun can still use the virtual related abilities, such as ringing and Sero, as he likes. But Hollow is a different story. At least in the past, he was passive Hollow, let alone 2 years later today. It is precisely for this reason that Ling Yun came to the 12th Division and readily accepted Urahara Kazuki's invitation, hoping to solve this problem once and for all. So the pressure came to Urahara Kazuki immediately. Actually, I'm not too sure. After all, I have only been involved in soul experiments for a few short years. Urahara gave a helpless smile. He is telling the truth. Hollow is a restricted area after all, and there has never been a precedent for research before. What's more, the previous conditions were harsh, and every research was carried out secretly, which caused the research progress to be slow, and there were no new breakthroughs in the research results. If it weren't for that accident, Urahara Kazuki doesn't even touch the threshold of Hollow yet. Can we start now? Ling Yun then asked. He couldn't wait, and wanted to start experimenting immediately. Wait a little longer. I have already notified Mayuri, and he should be here soon. Urahara Kazuki looked towards the door and said. Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Ling Yun's complexion immediately became strange. Kuretsuchi Mayuri, the pervert scientist, was defeated by himself in the maggot lair before, and even Bankai's power was stolen. After meeting again after a year, what if the other party still holds grudges and secretly manipulates them? Thinking of this, Ling Yun's scalp tingles. Kuretsuchi Mayuri can do anything. Is it really good to be his guinea pig? Quote. Ling Yun, you don't have to worry. After a year of precipitation, Mr. Yuri's mentality has calmed down a lot. He will never report his personal revenge publicly. Urahara Kazuki persuaded him dumbfounded, obviously guessing what Ling Yun was thinking. Isn't it? If something happens to me, you will be blamed. Ling Yun asked with a dubious attitude. Quote. Tisk tisk tisk. I don't like to listen to what you say. When did I, Urahara Kazuki, cheat you? Urahara Kazuki smiled cheerfully, patted his chest and promised. Just then, the door of the secret room opened suddenly, which immediately attracted the attention of the two. But the moment he actually walked into the instrument, Ling Yun's mood became uneasy instead. In case pervert scientists are more serious, it is true that eating wangs can't go around. Obviously I've experienced it once, but it still feels weird. Ling Yun thought to himself. Ling Yun spread his hands. I never said anything. Okay, Mr. Mayuri, Ling Yun is just joking, let's start the experiment without further delay. Urahara Kazuki quickly changed the subject, for fear that Kuretsuchi Mayuri would pursue it further. He also has longings for soul experiments. Hehehehe. Just now outside the door, I seem to hear someone talking bad about me. Kuretsuchi Mayuri walked into the secret room expressionlessly like a ghost, and said deliberately while looking at Ling Wei. Before the experiment started, he was very relaxed and even did a set of warm-up exercises leisurely. Soon after, Ling Yun came to the experimental area, and under the command of the two strongest brains, he sat in a special instrument with many catheters connected to his body. It seems that the feeling of being a guinea pig is not good. Alas, Ling Yun and Urahara Kazuki looked at the source of the sound, and a familiar figure came into view. It was Kuretsuchi Mayuri. Since the experiment is so interesting, I'll just pretend I can't hear it this time. Kuretsuchi Mayuri snorted coldly, then looked at the experimental equipment. His yellow pupils were full of fanaticism. When the second hollow experiment begins. Chapter 206 Complete Hollow State. It's finally started. Outside the special instrument, Urahara Kazuki and Kuretsuchi Mayuri showed serious expressions, staring intently at everything inside. Ling Yun, on the other hand, is like a laboratory mouse, with many catheters connected to his whole body, entering a special state. Buzz buzz. There are special fluctuations coming out of the instrument, vaguely like the scene before the storm. Urahara Kazuki, is there anything wrong with this experiment? Although interested in the hollow experiment, Kuretsuchi Mayuri still has concerns. The strength of Ling Yun, not to mention him, is almost well known in the entire Gotei 13. And the news of the captain's assessment in private gradually spread among the senior management of Gotei 13, and the strong strength of the captain level was used as the experimental material. This is the first time this has happened. Oh heh. Mr. Mayuri, I really didn't expect that you would have something to worry about. Urahara Kazuki joked with a smile. Urahara Kazuki, isn't this nonsense? Kuretsuchi Mayuri responded blankly. In case something goes wrong in the experiment, Ling Yun's life doesn't matter. What matters is that the situation gets out of control. Puff. After hearing what he said, Urahara Kazuki chuckled and said 220, Mr. Yuri, in the final analysis, you still don't care about Ling Yun's safety at all, you are just afraid of being blamed. I didn't say that. Anyway, I don't want accidents to happen. Kuretsuchi Mayuri snorted coldly. Relax, the hollow experiment was carried out before, didn't you be safe that time? You don't have to worry too much. Urahara Kazuki smiled and comforted. In fact, there was also tension hidden in his smile. Just like what Kuretsuchi Mayuri said, if this experiment goes overboard, a captain-level combat power in a hollow berserk state is really no joke. At least it destroyed the Technology Development Bureau building. If it is serious, it will even bring disaster to the entire Jingling court. At that time, perhaps only the captain can suppress the runaway Ling Yun. Just thinking about it makes my scalp tingle. But in the gap between the two conversations, inside that special container, the fluctuations emanating from it became more and more intense, accompanied by a special buzzing sound. Here we go. The hollow process begins. Urahara Kazuki hastened to concentrate. BBAF. He held his breath and stared at the container, his heart beating violently. As for the controller in his hand, because the palm of his hand was too hard, the entire palm of his hand was covered with sweat. It is conceivable how uneasy he felt in his heart. It would be a lie to say I'm not nervous. The screen returns to the special container. With the beginning of the hollow process, Ling Yun, who was sitting inside, seemed to have fallen into a coma. At this time, he was in a state of unconsciousness, but the huge reiatsu in his body, which was super pregnant, spontaneously emanated out uncontrollably. Bang! There were bursts of roaring in the surrounding air. Unlike the past, Shinigami's unique mildness, Ling Yun's reiatsu gradually became violent. That feeling, just like the Manos Grande. Gulu. Just looking at it from a distance. Kuretsuchi Mayuri's throat rolled involuntarily, and a lot of sweat dripped down the sides of his cheeks. Since it was 100 years ago now, the time he left the maggot lair was only a short period of 1 or 2 years. Strictly speaking, although Kuretsuchi Mayuri in this period was cold and arrogant, he was not so defiant. To put it bluntly, he would still be terrified. And Ling Yun in the hollow state brought him the most real feeling, that is the fear that goes deep into the soul. Mr. Mayutoshi, don't be afraid. If something goes wrong, I will stop the experiment immediately. In fact, when Urahara Kazuki said this sentence, he didn't know what to do. But he agreed to Ling Yun from the very beginning, and this experiment was initiated by him, and there will be no temporary interruption anyway. That is, under the current circumstances, we can only bite the bullet and continue. As for what happens next, Urahara Kazuki didn't know, he could only pray silently, hoping that Ling Yun would really not lose control. Otherwise, the consequences will be disastrous. Time passed by every minute and every second. Ling Yun's hollow symptoms became more and more obvious. The head, limbs, and every inch of skin above and below the whole body are wrapped in black reiatsu, and there are signs of materialization. Really, it won't take long. All the reiatsu are solid at the same time, forming a dark black bone armor, which perfectly hides Ling Yun's body. This scene brings a very shocking visual effect. Will he suddenly wake up later? Kuretsuchi Mayuri suddenly cracked a joke. The occurrence of this scene in front of me made the atmosphere of the whole laboratory instantly become extremely depressing. This makes pervert scientists, who have always been rigorous, have to think of joking to ease the atmosphere. I can't tell. Before Urahara Kazuki finished speaking, the pupils of Urahara dilated several times in an instant. No. Won't it? Urahara Kazuki stared forward blankly. Boom. The laboratory where Ling Yun was located suddenly exploded. Whether it was the special container or the catheters connected to the limbs, they all broke in an instant. It also means thump 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 thump. The sudden change caused the hearts of each of the two scientists present to beat. Kuretsuchi Mayuri was dumbfounded. The nerves of the two were tense, and they stared at the front intently, not daring to relax their vigilance at all. Ling Yun completely lost all restraints. Ling Yun started completely hollow. The entire laboratory became silent, only the heartbeats of the two of them remained. Under the eyes of the two of them, reiatsu is so strong. An indescribable dark red reiatsu erupted like Wang Yang's sea. Boom. Everything is heading for the worst. He had to admit that he underestimated Ling Yun's strength in this state after hollow. Within his line of sight, the space in front of him seemed to turn into a black ocean of reiatsu. What an amazing reiatsu that condenses into an ocean of reiatsu. This means that even the murderous stone barrier cannot stop Ling Yun's reiatsu from spreading. Urahara Kazuki's face was filled with shock and horror. Immediately afterwards, Chapter 207 The Decisive Battle in the Soul Space. Exploring the truth behind celebrities' radiant smiles. Reclama. At the same time, just when the outside world was making a fuss, Ling Yun's internal space changed. Where is this place? It shouldn't be Soul Society, right? When Ling Yun opened his eyes, he found himself in another space. With puzzled eyes, he looked at the surrounding environment curiously, and found that this place was no longer the laboratory of the Technology Development Bureau, but an unfamiliar scene. As far as the eye can see, it is a densely packed Japanese-style building, but it is surprisingly deserted here, and no one can be seen at all. There are white clouds floating in the sky, and the earth is covered with a layer of golden afterglow. The overall environment is quiet and pleasant. It's just that there is a trace of silence hidden in this atmosphere. If I'm not mistaken, this should be my inner world, right? Ling Yun raised his head and looked around, feeling a little complicated. My inner world turned out to be like this, like a quiet town away from the hustle and bustle. The beautiful scenery in front of you is like a magnificent picture scroll, exuding a peaceful atmosphere, which makes people can't help but relax their vigilance, and feel like returning home to a safe haven. It was unexpected. But, after a brief enjoyment, Ling Yun quickly became vigilant. He had a hunch that behind the seemingly quiet, there was actually a huge crisis hidden. There is no sound, no figure, houses in every corner of the street, and crises seem to be buried everywhere. Come out, the void in my body, there's no need to play hide and seek, right? Ling Yun said a word silently in his heart. Now that you have come to the soul space, it seems meaningless to continue hiding. As predicted, the moment these words fell, a strange voice sounded without warning. Hey, are you finally here? I've been waiting for you for a long time. The voice sounded sharp and hoarse, and even had a feeling of déjà vu. It immediately caught Ling Yun's attention. There. Ling Yun searched around for a while. The source of the sound was soon found. Sure enough, she looks exactly like me. When Ling Yun looked over there, his pupils suddenly contracted involuntarily. That's because, within his line of sight, a familiar figure appeared. He is dressed in a white death costume, with a white Zanpakutō hanging on it, his special yellow pupils glow with a fierce and impotent light, and his face is covered with a white bone mask. Familiar appearance, familiar breath, familiar mask. The Shu that Ling Yun sees has almost everything of his own, but the color is opposite. Ling Yun. It should have been 2 years, and finally this moment has come. Shu let out a sharp laugh, looking at Ling Yun with greedy eyes. It looks like a very hungry beast, with a piece of delicious meat in front of it. It's really amazing. In less than 3 years, you have evolved to this level. Ling Yun looked at the other party seriously, showing a surprised expression. He just looked at Shu for a while, and felt a violent breath. According to his estimation, the humanoid Manos Grande in front of him is at least at the level of Vasto Lord. This is not easy to deal with. Che, Ling Yun, stop talking nonsense. Facing Ling Yun's praise, he sneered disapprovingly, and said, I am also you, and I will replace you soon, so this is not surprising at all. Because, this world will soon be ruled by me. After Shu finished speaking, he let out a maniacal laugh, like an angry beast. It seems that the claws will be exposed at any time. Really? Then you are quite confident. Ling Yun's face remained unchanged. It is undeniable that the void in the body is indeed very strong, almost having the same power as himself. Same Reiatsu, same moves, same strength. It is not easy to beat each other. But, Ling Yun is not panic at all, this is the soul space after all. Strictly speaking, everything here, even including Shu, exists because of him. So no matter how bad the situation is, Ling Yun doesn't think his will fail. Because he is the real source. Ask for flowers. Let's stop talking nonsense, I'll kill you now, and then kill you in the jingling court instead. Shu reached out to touch the girdle, and took off the white Zanpakutō. He held the Zanpakutō in his hands, and then showed a sly smile. If you can do it, you can come and try. Ling Yun smiled confidently. Immediately afterwards, he performed the same action, also taking the Zanpakutō from the girdle. Zanpakutō Yama. This full attribute death scythe, even in the sealed state, still exudes a strong wave. Ling Yun. You don't seem to understand. Shu showed a wild smile. Zanpakutō Yanmo, you are not the only one who owns this power, I also have mastered this power. .00. Burnt. The white Yanmo unsheathed. All of a sudden, there was dust all over the place. Holding Zanpakutō in the empty hand, the aura is rising steadily, occupying all the aura in an instant. Immediately afterwards, face its provocation. The loud words fell. The same action, the same liberation language, but the color is completely opposite. Waving the death scythe, Shu made half a circle in the air. Ling Yun. See, everything you have, I can also control, so you have no chance of winning at all. After releasing Shikai's power, Shu became extra confident. In front of Ling Yun, Shu directly released Shikai's power. Used by the evil god, Wei Wu has exhausted his body. There was a sound of breaking wind, cracks appeared on the ground, and a surging and violent force quickly lingered in the sky above. The Zanpakutō in its hand, with the sound of the sound, emits a white light. A big battle is imminent. It speaks Shikai language. The white sickle of death takes shape quickly. A soaring aura burst out of Ling Yun's body, and immediately under Shu's gaze, the black death scythe condensed into shape. Ling Yun responded quickly. Compared with Yanmo's original power, after being controlled by Shu, this power has become even more violent. Swipe. Yanmo Dark Scythe. Chapter 208. Your skills are not at full level. Ling Yun. See, everything you have, I can also control, so you have no chance of winning at all. After releasing Shikai's power, Shu became extra confident. Face its provocation. Ling Yun responded quickly. The same action, the same liberation language, but the color is completely opposite. A soaring aura burst out of Ling Yun's body, and immediately under Shu's gaze, the black death scythe condensed into shape. Che, do you think Shikai can compete with me? Waving the death scythe, Shu made half a circle in the air. There was a sound of breaking wind, cracks appeared on the ground, and a surging and violent force quickly lingered in the sky above. Compared with Yan Mo's original power, after being controlled by Shu, this power has become even more violent. The void in my body, you don't seem to understand it. Facing 250 inches, contempt for Shu, Ling Yun smiled and responded disapprovingly, the reason why you can exist is because of me. Quote. Not only you, but this soul space, including Zanpakutō Yan Mo, all exist because of me, and I am the source of everything. Ling Yun said calmly. He was right. Zanpakutō, live with Shinigami, die with Shinigami. From the beginning of birth, it has an inseparable relationship with the soul of Shinigami. No matter how strong Shu is, in this space, Ling Yun still has the highest right to dominate. Regarding Ling Yun's remarks, the arrogant smile on Shu's face suddenly became restrained. He couldn't refute it, it was what it was. From his point of view, before Ling Yun came to the soul space, Shu had been in a state of being suppressed. Its only chance, it is to defeat Ling Yun in the soul space. And now is the best chance. It doesn't matter what it was like before, as long as I defeat you now, I can take the dominance. After a short period of restraint, Shu became crazy again. It stared greedily at Ling Yun, not hiding its killing intent at all. For this moment, it has been waiting for many days. Spinning. The next moment, Shu launched a fierce offensive. It swung the death scythe, and slashed heavily towards Ling Yun's body. And the previous voice even stayed in place, showing how fast it was. 81 of Bakudo, my lord. Without raising her head, Ling Yun directly gave up singing and cast Bakudo. In an instant, the transparent splitting void barrier towered in front of him as if airborne. Boom. After the deafening bang, the splitting void barrier was like a moat, blocking Shu's way forward. Cut. He snorted unhappily. The white sickle in his hand slashed heavily towards the splitting void barrier. Burnt. Sparks shot out, and the barrier shook. However, apart from the sound of metal colliding, the splitting void barrier was not damaged in any way, and it still stood majestically in place. Obviously Shu's offensive this time was disintegrated. It shouldn't be. Standing in midair, looking at the splitting void barrier, he showed a puzzled expression. It stands to reason that the power in his body, that is, the strength and density of Reiatsu, should be exactly the same as that of Ling Yun. In the case of Reiatsu being equal, the slashes created by Shinigami are often evenly matched without the bonus of sword skills. But the current result is not like this. With the degree of hostility towards Ling Yun, he will definitely not show mercy, and it is necessary to go all out. But even so, it still can't shake the splitting void. Such a result makes it feel unacceptable. Don't you understand? Ling Yun stood behind the splitting void barrier, looking up at the midair indifferently. With a calm tone, he said, you are right, you do have all the power I have, but there is a loophole in this sentence. What's the meaning? Shu frowned suspiciously. Vulnerabilities. From the first hollow experiment to this real meeting, there were 2 or 3 years in between. Shu has been lurking, always peeping in the dark. There can be no loopholes. As expected, you still don't understand, what is the real gap between us? Ling Yun looked at Shu, and the original plainness turned into a trace of pity. It is a kind of contempt for the weak by the strong. The edge of Senju, the untouchable hand of the circle of darkness, the untouchable sky shooter, the way of shining light, fanning the wind of fire. When you gather together, don't be confused, just follow my instructions. Light bullet, 8 bodies, 9 articles, heavenly scripture, disease treasure, big wheel, gray turret, draw the bow to the distance, and dissipate away brightly. Hado's 91, Senju's brilliance. Facing Ling Yun's pitiful gaze, Shu seemed like a dynamite keg that was ignited. It howled in dismay, and then chance, cast Hado 91. Instantly, countless white light cones, like stars one after another, carrying destructive power, bombarded towards the splitting void barrier indiscriminately. Boom, boom, boom. After the light cone exploded, the dazzling white light was accompanied by the sound of vibration. It reverberates back and forth throughout the soul space. Ha ha ha. Ling Yun, in this state, the splitting void alone is unstoppable. Shu let out a maniacal laugh again, and it became confident and inflated again. In fact, this is quite normal. After all, the power of Kido is closely related to their rank numbers. The lower the serial number, the stronger the power. One is number 81 and the other is 91. There is a difference in the middle. Under such a premise, coupled with the vanity and rage, its self-confidence is a matter of course. But, how can that be, when all the white light dissipated? Shu's eyes widened in astonishment, and he showed a shocked expression again. That is because, within its line of sight, the expected scene did not happen. The splitting void barrier didn't disappear. Except for some cracks on the surface, 2.4 still stood majestically in place. More importantly, until Senju Jiaoshan Taipao completely disappeared. None of it is broken. No. Impossible. False hysterical roar. This time it completely lost control of its emotions. A minute earlier, when he had cast Hado, he had sworn to intimidation. But what happened now slapped it in the face again. The splitting void barrier did not collapse, which also meant that its offensive failed again. No matter what means he tried, Ling Yun still couldn't do anything. This result is obviously unacceptable. Shu, now you should understand, what you thought was really just what you thought, you and I were not in the same pattern. Ling Yun looked at it blankly. The biggest gap between him and Shu. That is the full level. Chapter 209. It's really a crow's mouth. Shu, now you should understand, what you thought was really just what you thought, you and I were not in the same pattern. Ling Yun looked at it blankly. In fact, the biggest gap between him and Shu. That's full grade. That's right, the full level of skills is Ling Yun's biggest hole card. Because, this is the power endowed by the system, a cheat owned by him alone, with a unique particularity, which has never been seen in the Shinigami world. Under such a premise, no matter how powerful Shu is, no matter how powerful it is, Ling Yun was born invincible. He doesn't have to worry at all, and he doesn't need to worry about anything, he just needs to deal with this crisis calmly. Now the situation is completely reversed. Originally with ambition, Shu tried to kill Ling Yun and take away control. At this time, it became the lost party. Because it couldn't do anything to Ling Yun, it couldn't think of a better way for a while. The entire soul space instantly became quiet. Shu froze on the spot, motionless, apparently still not recovering. The series of events that happened before 11 were a fatal blow to it, and the original fierce momentum disappeared. The situation is becoming more and more unfavorable for it. Why is this happening? Until now, Shu didn't realize the root of the gap. In fact, from the very beginning, between him and Ling Yun, their respective fates were doomed. King and Mount. It will always be the enslaved one. 90 of Hado, Black Coffin. 96 of Hado, Cremation with one knife. Furious, and not wanting to give up, he performed Hado again. Yeah, no matter how hard it tries, the splitting void barrier always stands tall. Give up, you can't beat me. Ling Yun's voice sounded again. But this time, he changed his actions and no longer stood behind the splitting void barrier. Brush. With Yan Mo's light wave. A gap appeared in the splitting void barrier, and Ling Yun calmly walked out of it. The Black Death scythe emits a dark light, instantly purifying the surrounding whiteness. After the momentum and gas field reversed, the power between the two seems to be no longer waiting. Ling Yun sounded the horn of counterattack. No, this kind of thing shouldn't happen. Shu roared hysterically. He didn't believe it, and he didn't want to believe it, it would be the result now. Obviously, he has planned for a long time, since the first hollow experiment, he has been lurking in Ling Yun's body, and he didn't expect that his success fell short now. How could it possibly accept this result? What's even more frustrating is, the current situation is not only reversed, but also threatens its life. Once Ling Yun regains the initiative, he will definitely not show mercy, and its fate can be imagined at that time. The thought of myself disappearing at any moment. Shu was very unwilling, and also became crazy, losing his mind in an instant. Ling Yun, kill you, I will definitely kill you and tear your body apart. False hysterical roar. It brandished a white sickle, roared and rushed towards Ling Yun, as if he had been knocked out of his head. What a pity. Ling Yun continued to look at it with pity. Facing the slash of the white sickle, Ling Yun swung Yan Mo calmly. Burnt. Accompanied by the harsh sound of metal collisions. No matter how fierce Shu's offensive is, it will actually be useless, and it will not pose the slightest threat at all. More importantly, the crazier its behavior, the more it represents its guilty conscience. The more this is the case, the more disadvantaged it will be. This also means that its fate is doomed. At the same time, while Ling Yun was fighting with Shu, the outside laboratory was also not peaceful. Boom, boom, boom. The majestic Reiatsu keeps coming. The battle between Ling Yun and Shu caused his own body to continuously release Reiatsu unconsciously. It's terrible. Urahara Kazuki stood in the distance, looking at the container where Ling Yun was, with a worried look on his face. His strength, needless to say, even in the entire Gotei 13, can be regarded as the top category. But even so, facing Ling Yun's Reiatsu, Urahara Kazuki still felt overwhelmed. Shouldn't it be out of control? Even Urahara Kazuki is like this, let alone Kuretsuchi Mayuri. He was so frightened that his face turned pale. His complexion was pale, and now it was like a piece of white paper. Just in case the situation really gets out of control. If Ling Yun failed and his body was taken over, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only the two of them, but even this place, the entire Technology Development Bureau, will face catastrophe. More important consequences. Even the entire Jing Lingting Temple, the entire Gotei 13, and even the entire Soul Society. So this is a very dire consequence. Just thinking about it, Kuretsuchi Mayuri couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. For the first time he regretted it. Urahara Kazuki was silent. At the beginning, Hollow experimented with this proposal, which he put forward in person. Now that it has developed to this point, Urahara Kazuki knows in his heart that he has to bear the greatest responsibility. Just wait patiently, maybe things will turn around. Urahara Kazuki sighed. So far, I can only comfort myself like this. In fact, to be honest, he has no bottom in his heart, and he has no control over the next trend of 543 at all. The worst plan right now is the best and worst preparation. Just in case. Ling Yun was really swallowed by Shu. Then get ready to die together. Hehe, that's easy to say. Kuretsuchi Mayuri rolled his eyes and complained resentfully. If it wakes up, we too will be finished. Mr. Mayori, you will also say that it is just in case, this kind of thing. Urahara Kazuki hadn't finished speaking. In the next second, his expression changed dramatically. No way. Urahara Kazuki's eyes widened suddenly. That is because, at the position where his line of sight fell, that is, the container where Ling Yun was, Ling Yun, whose eyes were originally closed, suddenly opened them. This scene happened. The atmosphere suddenly dropped to freezing point. Gulu. Kuretsuchi Mayuri was equally shocked and speechless. He looked at Urahara Kazuki again, and cursed in his heart. Nima. You crow mouth. It's not good to say anything, it's out of the way to talk about this kind of thing. Mr. Mayori. Urahara Kazuki smiled helplessly, and warned. Prepare for the worst, now our two lives are really bound together. Let's deal with this monster together. Invincible Chapter 210. No way. Urahara Kazuki's eyes widened suddenly. That is because, at the position where his line of sight fell, that is, the container where Ling Yun was, Ling Yun, whose eyes were originally closed, suddenly opened them. This is really bad. Kuretsuchi Mayuri was equally shocked and speechless. Mr. Mayori. Urahara Kazuki smiled helplessly, and warned. Prepare for the worst, now our two lives are really bound together. Let's deal with this monster together. At this time, the hollow Ling Yun inside the container is like a volcano rolling at any time, with the possibility of erupting at any time. Boom. The dark red Reiatsu burst out again. Kuretsuchi Mayuri and Urahara Kazuki, both raised to the throat, stared at the container motionlessly. The feeling of danger in my heart has become stronger and stronger. Intuition tells them, disaster may strike at any time. Urahara Kazuki, if we don't succeed this time, then both of us will die here. Kuretsuchi Mayuri said bitterly. Oh he, not only the two of us, but even the entire Technology Development Bureau will be destroyed overnight. Urahara Kazuki forced a smile. Now this situation, no matter how dangerous it is, can only bite the bullet and go straight ahead. Right, just in between the conversation between the two. Hollow Ling Yun finally got Sero, and suddenly opened those vertical pupils. Roar. One eye is a terrifying roar. The intubation tube that was originally tied to the body collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye as the sound burst out. The keto restriction originally set in the container, because it couldn't withstand the impact of Reiatsu, turned out to be as fragile as a piece of white paper, and broke in the blink of an eye. Boom. After a harsh bang, countless mirror-like fragments fell to the ground. The original situation took a sharp turn for the worse, apparently reaching the point of imminent danger. It also means, Urahara Kazuki and Kuretsuchi Mayuri were completely defenseless. They have to face Hollow Ling Yun head-on. He. On Urahara Kazuki's face, the original light-hearted smile disappeared. Instead, there was a seriousness that had never been there before, his nerves stretched to ultimate. Kuretsuchi Mayuri, on the side, was even more grim. His mentality was not that stable, it could even be said to be quite extreme. Faced with this situation suddenly, if Urahara Kazuki was not standing beside him, with Kuretsuchi Mayuri's impetuous and impulsive character, his whole head would be almost blank. How is he going to fight? Mr. Mayuri, you are responsible for covering me, and I will hold him back. Just when Kuretsuchi Mayuri was at a loss, Urahara Kazuki suddenly spoke. Known as the strongest brain, he has analyzed countless possibilities just now. It is impossible to escape. At present, the only choice for the two of them is to stay and be tough, and delay as much time as possible. Because only in this way, there is a glimmer of hope to live. Otherwise, the more you want to escape, the closer you will be to death, and the fear will come further. And at this time, Hollow Ling Yun, who was on the opposite side, broke free from the shackles completely, and stared straight at the two of them. Under the white bone mask, those terrifying vertical pupils shone with dazzling scarlet light, as if they might swallow people inside at any time. No matter who it is, as long as they take a look, they will tremble uncontrollably. Even two tech nerds are no exception. Gulu. Kuretsuchi Mayuri swallowed heavily. He was almost at a loss for words. This look, the killing intent contained in it, made all the hairs on his body burst, and he felt like looking straight into the abyss. There was a sudden chill in the spine. Don't panic, if you lose all hope, you are really doomed to die here. Urahara Kazuki patted his shoulder and said firmly. Unlike Kuretsuchi Mayuri, Urahara Kazuki, despite her fears, did not give up hope. Hollow Ling Yun is certainly scary, but not without weaknesses, at least. Low IQ is the most obvious weakness. So, O King's Lander, the mask of flesh and blood, the one who was crowned with the name of man with the wings of all phenomena. Carve the double lotus on the wall of the blue fire, and wait for the abyss of fire in the distant sky. Hado 73, Double Lotus Kengwo Pendant. From the mouth of Urahara Kazuki, Hado chant came out. Yes. In order to gain an absolute first-hand right, Urahara Kazuki decided to preemptively cast Hado when he came up. Boom. The majestic Reiatsu at the captain level, driven by his thoughts, continuously spread out to the surroundings. Then the temperature in the room rose sharply, and quickly climbed to a terrifying height. The moisture in the air quickly evaporated and disappeared, as if it had become a big furnace. Those Reiatsu also evolved into terrifying high-temperature flames. It's now. Urahara Kazuki suddenly let out a loud cry. Then he took advantage of the situation, pulled out the Zanpakutō from his waist, and slashed towards Ling Yun who was facing him. What changed with it was the flames burning all around, which spread out in a mighty way, and the momentum was extremely huge in an instant, as if the horn of counterattack was blown. Urahara Kazuki is so brave. This scene completely dumbfounded Kuretsuchi Mayuri. He never expected that Urahara Kazuki, who was always lighthearted, turned into an iron-headed baby at this time, and instead took the initiative to rush towards Ling Yun. This is so unexpected. Mr. Mayuri, why are you still dazed? Hurry up and release your Shikai. Just as Kuretsuchi Mayuri was still in a daze, Urahara Kazuki's growling voice came from the front. Kuretsuchi Mayuri looked at the sound, and found that Urahara Kazuki was looking at him with a resentful face, as if looking at the pig teammate. Kuretsuchi Mayuri. The pervert scientist fell silent for a moment. Then he came back to his senses, held Zanpakutō with his backhand, and chants out of his mouth. Slay Jizo. After a burst of drinking, Zanpakutō in the hands of Kuretsuchi Mayuri has changed dramatically. From the original appearance of the Teidao, there are 3 blades, the root of the blade is like a baby's face, and the color is a golden blade. Buzz buzz. The purple poisonous mist, following the appearance of the blade, immediately flowed to the surroundings. Under the control of Kuretsuchi Mayuri, all the dense fogs flowed in the same direction, Ling Yun's location. Invincible Chapter 211. At this time, all the moves are rushing towards Ling Yun, but it can be said that as Ling Yun's strength continues to increase, this time is more powerful than the first time. This time Ling Yun made both of them fearful, wondering if they could control the situation with their strength. It can be said that the purpose of the two now is to defeat Ling Yun. But when the move landed on Ling Yun, although wounds were left, all the wounds healed and he was immune to the attack of the move. The hearts of the two couldn't help sinking, and it was the ability of high-speed regeneration. This kind of thing happened in Hollow last time, and both of them heard about it. This time it can be said that the healing is faster, which may be due to the increase in strength. The two looked at each other with helpless smiles. At this time, it can be said that there is no way to prevent Ling Yun from hollowing out again. The two may also bear the title of sinner. Now this situation is not the time to think about these things, we can only stop things from fermenting first. Now we can only delay the time and delay Ling Yun as much as possible before he regains consciousness. Before Urahara Kazuki finished speaking, the Enma in Hollow's Ling Yun's hand was dancing randomly. It can be said that this is more powerful than the 367 fluctuations when Ling Yun is awake. The sword energy / wave contains different attributes, all of which are locked on the two of them, and the two of them feel the pressure doubled in an instant. I don't care about anyone now. Life saving is the most important thing. Urahara Kazuki can be said to be very regretful. Why did this experiment? In the future, the experiment must test the danger of the experiment, and it is necessary to mess with your own life gone. It's useless to say anything now, and I can only mobilize my biggest defensive hole card. When the sword energy / wave comes in front of the two can feel the strength of Janbo. This is still aimed at two people. One can imagine what kind of Wia it is when it is only aimed at one person. Even if the two people used all their strength, they still suffered a lot of injuries. At the same time, Ling Yun's battle is drawing to a close. Shu became more and more crazy, unwilling to reconcile, and anger filled his mind. Why couldn't he beat Ling Yun with careful planning? At this moment Shu was already crazy. All his moves were thrown at Ling Yun as if he didn't want money, but Ling Yun was unmoved, looking at him like a clown, as if he was destined to lose, as it should be. Ling Yun without a cheat may still be controlled by Shu, but now it is different. All the cards show that Ling Yun cannot lose. It's over. Ling Yun waved Yan Mo, a sword light flashed, and shattered the white sickle, but it didn't disappear because of it, and the power didn't decrease. He looked like he couldn't believe all this. Ling Yun looked at the scarred Shu, without hesitation, sat on the ground, intending to fuse Shu. As Shu's soul was stripped out, the body also disappeared. At this time Shu's soul is at its weakest, and it is also an excellent fusion time. How could you defeat me? I won't merge with you. Shu is still making the last struggle, but it is useless. Ling Yun also feels the situation of the two people outside at this moment. It can be said that he is very impatient. As long as he fuses Shu immediately, the lives of the two people outside may be destroyed in his hands. Because Shu's body is very weak, it can be said to be a strong bow, and Ling Yun himself is much stronger than Shu, so it can be said to be suppressed. Therefore, During the fusion process, there was no situation of taking away the body, and soon the little consciousness left by Shu was suppressed by Ling Yun. This time the fusion went extremely smoothly, and when Shu's soul was completely fused, Ling Yun was relieved. Ding! Congratulations to host, you got an extra talent, high-speed regeneration. Ling Yun was suddenly excited. Is it the same as he thought? Can it resist any attack? Open black lens bracket high-speed regeneration close black lens bracket. Talent effect. When releasing high-speed regeneration, it can withstand large-scale attacks in a short period of time. According to the ability of the host in the future, the stronger the ability, the stronger the timeliness. Ling Yun couldn't restrain the ecstasy in his heart. Normally, a new skill would only be awakened after a BBFH talent was upgraded to the full level, but now he awakened directly. This is a way to save your life. If you can't fight, you can run. Will you be able to bear it for a longer time in the future? If you want to be invincible first, use this trick when others come to fight. Think about the expressions of others, and you will be very happy. What? Ding! Congratulations, host, you have obtained a special skill, Get Angry. Without any hesitation, Ling Yun directly reached the full level of the skill. Ding! Congratulations host, the anger level has been raised to LV2. Congratulations, the host effect level has been upgraded to LV3. Congratulations host, the anger level has been raised to LV99. Ding! Congratulations to host, you have gained extra talents and increased strength. Open black lens bracket strength increase close black lens bracket. Talent effect. Casting any Hado, you can absorb spirit seeds to enhance the power of Hado. Ordinary moves can also be used, and the maximum increase can be 20 times. Isn't this an upgraded version of Hado's augmentation? The ecstasy in Ling Yun's heart. It can be said that this is even more powerful. Hado's boost is only Hado. This ordinary move can also be boosted. Even a random punch can be boosted by 20 times. Name. Shihouin Ling Yun. Slash. 6900. Hado. Low-level Hado, max middle-level Hado, max some high-level Hado, max. Now the two of them stared at Ling Yun without blinking. For fear of missing something, they probably guessed that it was Ling Yun who was confronting Shu Zai. In addition to skill upgrades, the attribute panel has also undergone significant changes. There is no way, the eyes of the two are too hot, Ling Yun can only report first, success. Bakudo. Low Bakudo, max intermediate Bakudo, max some high Bakudo, max. Talents. 7 attributes Affinity, Reiatsu Amplification, Hado Amplification, Strange Power Bash, Divine Healing, Infinite Void Flash Ensemble, High-Speed Regeneration, Strength Amplification. J. 10,000. Status. Third seat of the fourth team. The eyes of the two were full of anxiety, they didn't care about their own injuries, and hurriedly stayed by Ling Yun's side, hoping that Ling Yun could survive this catastrophe. Ling Yun opened his eyes and saw the eager eyes of the two. If he didn't know that the two liked women, he would have locked them up for interrogation now. Special skills. Shiba Family Secret Technique, Max Bone Fist Technique, Max Kaido, Max Anger, Max. Shunpo. 6240. Void. Black Sero, Max. Reiatsu. 7600. It can be seen that after going through a battle just now, Ling Yun suddenly fainted, and the two were able to buffer, but they must not dare to relax, who knows if they will wake up suddenly. Now is not the time to worry about these things, the two people outside are about to die, and now Ling Yun is in a coma, and the two people are also covered with scars. Chapter 212 The captain of the 10th squad takes office. Soon after, in the underground laboratory, the scene was a mess. After the big battle just now, there is almost no complete object here, glass shards and liquid are scattered all over the ground, and the air is filled with a pungent smell. Ling Yun, did you really succeed? Urahara Kazuki and Kuritsuchi Mayuri looked at Ling Yun, with big eyes and small eyes, full of anticipation. Otherwise, can I still talk to you so indifferently? Being stared at by the two without blinking, Ling Yun cried and answered without laughing. The fiery eyes of the two directors, if not knowing that they like women, Ling Yun couldn't help but want to punch them. Please, do you need to look at me like that? I don't want to fencing with you guys. Phew, that's great, the previous efforts were finally not in vain, and the hollow experiment can be regarded as a historic breakthrough. Urahara Kazuki beamed with joy. He didn't care about the injuries on his body, because he was so excited that he almost danced with his arms and legs. If the people from the Technical Development Bureau were present, seeing Urahara Kazuki's reaction at this moment, they would surely drop their jaws in shock. What is the secret science experiment? As for being so excited. Quote. Ling Yun, so you have the power of both Shinigami and Manos Grande in your body now. Under the blue and white mask, Kuritsuchi Mayuri's expression flashed a complicated look. Although the voice was as hollow as ever, anyone could clearly hear that his mood had obviously fluctuated. He was instinctively interested in the hollow experiment, and the results of the perfect hollow. That's right, thanks to your help, I was able to suppress the void in my body and thus perfectly control the power of hollow. Ling Yun showed a satisfied smile. He shook his arm lightly, the blood in his body surged rapidly, and a sense of surging power struck him. This is the result of a perfect hollow. Even without a virtual mask, Ling Yun only needs to move his mind to arouse the power of Manos Grande. The combat power will naturally increase exponentially. However, Ling Yun paused, and deliberately lowered his voice. About this secret, Yuli Sanshi, I don't think you will tell it. Hehe, who do you take me for? Kuretsuchi Mayuri's eyes widened, and he almost exploded. Although it is the 3 seats, on the surface, the status is not high, and it is not considered the category of captain-level Shinigami. But, the strength of Kuretsuchi Mayuri, as well as the black technology he has mastered, has indeed reached the standard of a captain-level Shinigami. And because of his meticulous mind and unconstrained thinking, he didn't even bother to be with other senior officers, and even looked down on his own vice-captain. Hearing Ling Yun's question, Kuretsuchi Mayuri suddenly lost his temper. Ahem, Mr. Nirvana, don't be angry, Ling Yun is just joking, I know your character best. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, Urahara Kazuki quickly laughed, smile and stand up as a peacemaker. Kuretsuchi Mayuri, after all, is his right-hand man, and he is also a genius with unconstrained thinking, so Urahara Kazuki has extra trust in him, otherwise he would not have brought him out of the maggot den. Well, all in all, thanks to you two, I finally mastered Hollow's power perfectly. Ling Yun smiled and said sincerely. If it weren't for the help of the 2 bosses, the mysterious Manos Grande in his body would be like a time bomb, threatening to explode at any time. After this hollow experiment, this concern was finally completely eliminated. This is a great thing for him. What's next? Urahara Kazuki smiled at the question. Actually, to be honest, I have already passed the captain's assessment, and I will be the captain of the 10th team soon. After a moment of silence, Ling Yun decided to confess. What? Captain of the 10th division? Urahara Kazuki, Kuretsuchi Mayuri were surprised at the same time. After all, it is the transfer of the captain position, even if they have always only cared about scientific experiments, they will be somewhat curious about this. As for the Juban team, after experiencing Rukongai's death incident before, it has lost its former glory. The position of captain has been vacant for a long time. Therefore, after hearing the news from Ling Yun, the 2 of them had such a big reaction. Urahara Kazuki, it's just the captain, aren't you too? It shouldn't be such a big reaction. The corners of Ling Yun's mouth raised slightly, revealing an understated smile. Whether it is the captain, the chief officer, or the ordinary team members. Ask for flowers. The difference in status and position, in fact, he doesn't care much at all. Hehe, Ling Yun, your appointment is different from others, which represents the rise of the Shihouin family. Urahara Kazuki responded with a meaningful smile. For a long time, the captain position of the 2nd team has been held by Shihouin's previous patriarchs. The same is true for the 6th team, which is guarded by the Kuchiki noble era, which forms an implicit balance. Once Ling Yun takes over, this balance will be broken, occupying 2 seats among the 13 captains. Then Shihouin's power will be stronger than ever. Rise. Ling Yun shook his head and said with a disapproving smile. I didn't think about it that much, Sister Yoruichi should be the same. Anyway, thanks to your help this time, I'll go back to the 4th team sooner rather than later. Under the white Captain Haori, he wore a loose black death suit. At the corner of the southeast aisle, Urahara Kazuki's laughter came out. Time flies. The new captain of the 10th division, that is, Ling Yun is about to take office. Hiyori, who had pockmarks, followed behind him, with a neither happy nor sad expression on his face. The sun is shining brightly today, it is indeed a suitable day for celebration. This hollow experiment has come to a perfect end. He waved at the 2 of them, and then left the Technology Development Bureau building. The captain's regular meeting is about to be held, and they are responsible for arranging the venue, at least making it a festive atmosphere. A month passed in a blink of an eye. That's right. A special day has finally come, the inauguration ceremony of the new captain of the 10th division. Ling Yun quickly skipped the topic. He walked out of the aisle leisurely with graceful steps, like taking a walk. At this time, in the team building of the 1st team, there were people coming and going in the aisle, and the team members were preparing in an orderly manner. Hi Yori, Ali. Today is a good day for Ling Yun to take office, shouldn't you smile when you are so festive? Urahara Kazuki tilted his head and teased Ju with a deliberate smile. In addition to the members of the 1st team, the captains of other teams can also be seen among the bustling crowd. Chapter 213 Captain, Ling Yun. Ali. Today's sun is very bright, it is indeed a suitable day for celebration. Under the white Captain Haori, he wore a loose black death suit. At the corner of the southeast aisle, Urahara Kazuki's laughter came out. He walked out of the aisle leisurely with graceful steps, like taking a walk. Hiyori, who had pockmarks, followed behind him, with a neither happy nor sad expression on his face. Hi Yori. Today is a good day for Ling Yun to take office, shouldn't you smile when you are so festive? Urahara Kazuki tilted his head and teased with a deliberate smile. HMPH, you don't need to worry about it. Tsurupe Hiyori gave a fierce kick. Although it has been a long time since Urahara Kazuki took office, the 553 has gone, but the little girl is still not convinced in her heart, and every time she speaks ill at each other. But, Urahara Kazuki was right. Although Xiao Teimei is not happy or sad on the surface, she knows Ling Yun after all, and the relationship is not bad, and she used to be half a guide. So my heart is more or less happy for Ling Yun. Oh, it was the experiment that night. Suddenly, an accident happened, which caused the explosion on the ground floor of the Technology Development Bureau building. It has been repaired a lot recently. Urahara Kazuki spread his hands and explained aggrievedly. In fact, the so-called experimental blasting is the second hollow experiment. In order to prevent the news from leaking out, he forcibly used this excuse to explain it. Just then, at the corner of the opposite passage, there was another sound of conversation. Ha ha, Jashiro, it's rare that you plan to take the initiative to attend the captain's regular meeting despite your lack of health. Hiraku Shunsui, wearing a bamboo hat and wearing a pink floral dress, let out a familiar hearty laugh. And beside him is Yadomaru Lisa, the shrewd deputy captain of the 8th Division. Jingla, you're joking, today is Ling Yun's inauguration ceremony, I should come here because of emotion and reason. Jashiro Yukitaki's face was pale, and he coughed lightly when he spoke. Due to the sacrifice of his lungs since he was a child, his physical condition is not good and he has always been prone to illness. In most cases, the team affairs of the 13th Squad are handed over to the adjutant. Jashiro Yukitaki rarely shows his face and stays in the team building most of the time to rest. Behind him, Shiba Kyan smiled brightly and greeted the two of them. Oops, I really didn't expect Ling Yun to be promoted to the captain so soon. I think he just entered the academy not long ago, Shiba Kyan said with emotion. At that time, Ling Yun once challenged him, but he didn't expect him to become the captain in a flash. The result is really embarrassing. Actually, I think it's a matter of course for Ling Yun to become the captain. His strength is sufficient. Hiraku Shunsui chuckled heartily. He has also been in contact with Ling Yun many times. Even if the relationship with Shihouin is aside, Ling Yun is indeed qualified to secure the position of captain, which he is convinced. That's right, let's go. I guess the other captains will be here soon. It's rare to have such a crowd. Jashiro Yukitaki chuckled. After speaking, everyone quickened their pace and walked towards the team office. The other side, in an aisle not far from the team room. Really, it's a bit reluctant to get up early in the morning, don't you think so, Aizen? Hiroko Shinji, who was wearing the captain's haori, yawned lazily, with a lazy expression on his face. Beside him, Aizen with a gentle face said with a respectful smile, Captain Hiroko, it's getting late now, there are only about 20 minutes left before the inauguration ceremony begins. Really, how time flies. Hiroko Shinji tilted his head, and then made an obscene gesture, piercing his ears. Fortunately, there are no other people around here, otherwise, once you see this scene, your jaw will definitely drop instantly. This Nima, is this the captain of the dignified 5th team? This is too obscene. By the way, Aizen, what do you think and evaluate about Ling Yun? Hiroko Shinji asked seriously a second after he had just pierced his ears. Hey, Captain Hiroko, why are you asking that all of a sudden? Although Aizen still had a smile on his face, a cold light flashed in the depths of his pupils. For a long time, the two seemed to have a harmonious relationship on the surface, but in fact they are secretly wary of each other. And for this, Aizen is very clear in his heart, and Hiroko Shinji is also well aware of it. To put it bluntly, the two are just acting with each other. It's nothing, you participated in the Hueco Mundo expedition with him, you should have contacted in private. Hiroko Shinji continued to ask calmly with a blank expression. During the last Hueco Mundo expedition, when the expeditionary force was attacked by Manos Grande, it was Ling Yun who stepped forward. Quote. The huge conference hall was silent, so quiet that even the sound of breathing could be clearly heard. The first team's team affairs room. Just like that, the two walked towards the team drawing room one after the other. In front of him, Captain Yamamoto was leaning on a cane with both hands, and his majestic eyes scanned the whole room, exuding a vague aura of calmness and prestige. The captains stand side by side. Well, Ling Yun is quite suitable to be the captain. Everyone looked at the middle of the room in unison, at the figure of Captain Haori in white with a 10 engraved on his back. This time he spoke his mind. Soon after. Now that everyone is here, Ling Yun's inauguration ceremony will begin immediately. So impressed with Aizen. He is used to being undisciplined as always, so he didn't bother to continue communicating with Aizen. Aizen was silent for a moment, and answered seriously after a while. The new captain of the 10th Division, Ling Yun. Is that the only way? Forget it, I thought you had some novel ideas, let's go to the team office. Hiroko Shinji shook his head, and yawned boredly. Chapter 214 Ghost Rock Castle Kenpachi's Challenge. In the team office, everyone's eyes were on Ling Yun. Dressed in a white captain's feather weave, underneath is a neat and tidy domineering outfit, with a smile on his handsome and flawless face, and absolute confidence in his gestures. Yes, in less than 3 years, Ling Yun leapt to captaincy. Now, sitting on an equal footing with all the big shots present, he suddenly became the focus of attention of the entire Jingling court, and even the entire Seoul society. Number 3. Now that everyone is here, the inauguration ceremony for the new captain will officially begin. Captain Yamamoto held a cane in his hand and said solemnly, I think everyone has been notified before today that Ling Yun will be promoted to the new captain of the 10th Division. Following the old man's words, everyone in the team affairs room, the captains and vice captains present all looked at Ling Yun. At this time, Hiroko Shinji, who was standing in the crowd, scratched his head and said lazily, tisk tisk tisk, after wearing this captain's haori, Ling Yun is quite stylish, much better than some big and three thick people. Up. Although these words were spoken in a calm tone, anyone could clearly hear the obvious irony contained in them. A certain figure standing in the row opposite immediately became dissatisfied. The current captain of the 11th Division, Kenpachi Anawaho frowned displeased looked at Hiroko Shinji and snorted coldly, Captain Hiroko, what are you talking about, who is the yin and yang? Ogre Rock City Kenpachi, I don't quite understand what you're talking about. Hiroko Shinji shrugged his shoulders, poked out his ear piercing casually, and said with a nonchalant expression, but if you take your own seat, then I have nothing to say. Hateful. Oni Yancheng Kenpachi suddenly became furious. Because of his ugly appearance and irascible personality, when he was usually acting in jingling court, other people would subconsciously walk away when they saw him. And because the previous Kenpachi died, Ghost Rock City Kenpachi succeeded easily. So his appointment caused dissatisfaction among some people. The image is ugly, the popularity is sluggish, and even rejected by everyone. Therefore, most of the time, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City lived quite agreeably, without the status and respect that Kenpachi deserved at all. And Hiroko Shinji's words just now, like a fuse, instantly detonated his emotions. Oni Rock City Kenpachi's eyes widened, veins twitched on his dark face, he clenched his fists angrily, and said angrily, Hiroko Shinji, not just this time, every time in the past, you always intentionally speak provocatively. What exactly do you want? Words containing anger echoed back and forth in the team office. As a result, the atmosphere suddenly dropped below freezing point. Ali, obviously today is a great day for Ling Yun to take office, but some people don't have eyes and want to jump out, alas. Hiroko Shinji ignored Kenpachi's question. With a calm expression on his face, he responded indifferently, provocation. Hehe. Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, I'm afraid you misunderstood, I have no such intention at all. Ha ha. Besides, how dare I provoke you, a reckless man who was born in Rukongai like you. Hiroko Shinji grinned and said in a strange way. This time he was really mocking it. Damn. You. Taunted again by Hiroko Shinji. And in front of so many people, Ghost Rock City Kenpachi trembled violently with anger. In fact, he is also powerless to refute. After all, in terms of strength alone, he may not necessarily be Hiroko Shinji's opponent, so it is impossible for him to make trouble. How about, when the two were in a stalemate, Mugaruma Kensai stepped out of the queue and suggested, Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, it's too boring to argue, why don't you guys have a fair confrontation? I think that's a good idea. I agree too. Love Aikawa and Fengchao Lujiro booed at the same time. Being from the same faction, they naturally chose to side with Hiroko Shinji. Right now, the three captains spoke at the same time, and the atmosphere became weird again, and the expression of Kenpachi in Ghost Rock City also became more and more embarrassing. At this time, he has reached a dilemma. It is impossible to admit cowardice. If he wanted to continue to secure his position as the captain of the 11th Division, he had to agree to the proposal of the other party. Otherwise, he is not worthy of the title, Kenpachi. Damn it. You actually united against me. Oni Rock Kenpachi gritted his teeth angrily. Right now, the only way to get back the field and secure the title of Kenpachi is to choose a captain for a fair duel to prove his own strength. FFLX. He quickly turned his attention to Ling Yun. Ghost Rock City Kenpachi took a deep breath and suggested confidently, everyone, since you question me so much, if I can draw with Captain Ling Yun, then it can prove my strength by 500. This remark caused an uproar again. Including Ling Yun himself, everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, all showing the same expression, dumbstruck. You heard me right. Ling Yun's first reaction was to be stunned. He never imagined that Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City would choose himself as a tool to prove his strength when he was ridiculed in public. Am I so easy to bully? Ling Yun shrugged helplessly, with a dumbfounding expression on his face. Should rookies be bullied? You don't wear such a swell. At this time, Hiroko Shinji, who was the provocateur, smiled with interest and said, tisk tisk tisk, Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, you are quite confident, and you plan to challenge Captain Ling Yun, he is even afraid of me. Facing Hiroko Shinji's ridicule, Kenpachi sneered. I haven't tried it, so how would I know? I should prove my strength. Now all the pressure came to Ling Yun. As for Ling Yun, the person involved, he had a calm expression on his face, without any fear. Happy to accompany. In the end, he only responded with these 4 words. Invincible Chapter 215. Happy to accompany. Ling Yun watched him calmly, then responded lightly. With just 4 words, although the tone of voice sounds plain, it reveals a confidence that comes from the soul, and it is clear that Ling Yun has 100% confidence. The most important is, as the leader of the Shinigami, the captain, although he saw all this, he didn't say a word from the beginning to the end, neither uttering nor stopping. This attitude is clearly the default. It is undeniable that Kenpachi's superior position at the time did become the captain through a duel. It's a pity that after so many years, he has never been recognized by others, so the old man also wants to use this opportunity to let Ghost Rock City prove himself a little bit. This time is obviously a suitable opportunity. Ling Yun, the newly promoted captain of the 10th Division, has a full attribute Zanpakutō, Yan Mo. As for whether they can survive under Ling Yun's hands, it depends on the performance of Kenpachi in Ghost Rock City. After a moment of silence, Captain Yamamoto finally spoke. He glanced around with deep eyes, and said in a deep voice, "Okay, everyone, stop arguing." The old man also saw what happened just now. Since Ghost Rock City Kenpachi is determined to challenge, and Ling Yun is willing to accept it. Then after the inauguration ceremony is over, the two of you will have a fair discussion in the first team's team building under the witness of everyone. The old man finally showed up. It's just that he didn't favor Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, but pushed him to the opposite of Ling Yun. The captain cleared his throat, and then said in a deep voice, "Ling Yun, Kenpachi of Guiyan City, you two must remember one thing, and don't kill anyone when you are discussing later, this is just a normal game." With the old man's words, this dispute finally came to a conclusion. Come on, give Ghost Rock Kenpachi a chance to prove himself. Secondly, it is to give Ling Yun a chance to stand up. No matter who wins, they can step on the opponent's upper position, and then become famous in Gote 13. For the rest of the time. After announcing some follow-up matters, Ling Yun's inauguration ceremony is finally over. The much-anticipated showdown is about to begin. In the training ground of the first team. Ling Yun, the new captain of the 10th squad. Oni Rock City Kenpachi, the current captain of the third team. One is the man who bears the title of Sword 8, and the other is the newly appointed Captain Shinigami. From the perspective of seniority alone, Ling Yun is obviously a junior. It stands to reason that his momentum and limelight should not be as good as the other parties, but judging from the facial expressions of the two of them, it seems that there is no such thing at all. With a smile on her face, Ling Yun revealed the word confidence from beginning to end. On the other hand, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City had a dignified expression, with a worried look on his mind, obviously not very confident about this battle. More importantly, the confrontation between the two is not only related to their respective reputations, but also related to the respective reputations of the two teams. After all, the 10th squad was almost wiped out by the regiment before, and the 11th squad is a powerful fighting squad. In case Oniganjo Kenpachi overturns, that would be embarrassing. At this time, the usual training ground for the players has been completely cleared. Ever since, there were not many people left to watch, and they were still those at the captain's regular meeting, captains and vice-captains of different teams. They gathered around the training ground, making the surrounding area impenetrable, staring intently at Ling Yun and Kenpachi, who were facing each other in the middle of the field. Ling Yun, Ogre Rock Castle Kenpachi. Although both of them are wearing Captain Haori, their image is indeed different. No, to be precise, there is a world of difference. Ling Yun was in high spirits, with a calm expression on his face, and looked at Kenpachi, the Ghost Rock City, with a slight smile. The understated expression and the confident smile seemed to have declared the outcome of this battle to be won. In fact, he thought so too. From the very beginning, Ling Yun didn't pay much attention to the other party, and what, Kenpachi, was just a joke. On the other hand, Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, not only looks ugly, but also looks a bit hideous. No matter how you look at it, it is very unpleasant, and people can't afford to feel good about it. Under such a premise, regardless of the original popularity, the captain-level Shinigami present subtly chose to support Ling Yun, almost presenting a one-sided situation. As the two confronted each other, the atmosphere became more and more wild. In the crowd, Hiyori Sarupe and Hiroko Shinji intuitively gathered together and whispered. Hiroko, how long do you think Kenpachi can last? Hiroko Shinji stretched out his palm, flicked a thump on her forehead, and said with a smile, Hiyori, why do you have to know this kind of problem? If it takes more than 10 minutes, I will lose. Damn it. The miserable appearance immediately attracted a lot of attention. At this time, Hiraku Shunsui came over and shook his head helplessly. Hey, what time is it now? You guys are still here, laughing and scolding. Really, Nuo Jiao Jiao took you two old enemies there is a way. Seeing that the person who spoke was Hiraku Shunsui, the experienced captain, Hiroko Shinji, and Hiyori Sapaki, both of them smiled helplessly. Hiroko Shinji flew upside down. Hey, it's up to you, who allows you to do it casually? Hee. In front of everyone, she kicked with fury and hit Hiroko Shinji precisely on the forehead. While the two were talking, Aizen, who was standing not far away, kept looking at Ling Yun. The leader of the Beijing band smiled heartily, without beating around the bush, and said bluntly, well, to be honest, it must be Ling Yun. He is the most outstanding talent in history. He took the position of captain at a young age. This kind of thing can be done by anyone. Yes, I think so too. It seems that the result is obvious. He has been watching in the dark. Hiroko Shinji is in a good mood. Hiroko Shinji cleared his throat, and changed the subject awkwardly. King Band Leader, what do you think? Ape Hiyori rolled his eyes, and put his hands on Xiaoman's waist angrily. Another familiar scene followed. Let you beat me. He fell to the ground with a bruised nose and a swollen face, and a lot of blood spilled from the corners of his mouth. Invincible Chapter 216. From beginning to end. While the two were talking, Aizen, who was standing not far away, kept looking at Ling Yun. He's been watching in the dark. During the last Hueco Mundo expedition, Aizen had doubts about Ling Yun. It's just that the situation was special that time, and he himself had to go to Zai Palace, so he didn't have much chance to contact Ling Yun, so he could only put his doubts aside for the time being. This time the situation is completely different. As the deputy captain, among the crowd of many captains, he silently observed Ling Yun's every move. Confident, calm. This is the intuitive feeling Ling Yun brings to Aizen at this moment. As for other flaws, Aizen can't see them yet. Ling Yun. The bangs on his forehead fluttered in the wind. After silently reciting Ling Yun's name, under the dark black-rimmed glasses, a strange light flashed in Aizen's pupils. No one can guess what he is thinking at the moment. All right, remember what I said at the beginning, this fair fight begins now. The captain ordered again. Don't worry, we have our own measure. Ling Yun and Ghost Rock City Kenpachi nodded to the old man respectively. Next second. Boom. Ghost Rock City Kenpachi took the lead with 533 moves. There was a piercing detonation sound in the air under his feet. Ghost Rock City Kenpachi roared, and the captain-level Reiatsu exploded like a storm. His aura quickly climbed to the peak, and even the surrounding space was somewhat distorted, which was the result of the Reiatsu being too strong. Have to say, although the appearance and image are a bit stretched. But after all, he is the person who bears the title of Kenpachi. The strength of Kenpachi in Ghost Rock City can be seen as Madara. He then appeared in front of Ling Yun in an instant. Shiny. With a bright light. The sharp Zanpakutō sword tip quickly enlarged in Ling Yun's eyes, and it will stab his forehead in a short time. And the ground where he was originally was cracked a huge crack, and everything undoubtedly showed his powerful strength. In midair, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City roared ferociously. Ling Yun, you who have just been appointed as the captain of the 10th Division must know the most respected fighting method of the 11th Division, right? There is obvious self-confidence in the rough words. BBFC. He couldn't help but increase the strength of his sword swing. However, seeing all this in his eyes, Ling Yun's expression was unhurried, without the slightest turmoil. Ling Yun smiled indifferently. Isn't the rule of the 11th team to abandon Kido as much as possible, and then use the method of cutting to fight, so what's the matter? Hearing this, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City laughed wildly. That's right, since you understand the battle rules of the 11th squad, wouldn't it be good to use the cutting technique to have a conversation? Competition. In addition to the collision of sword skills, it is largely the confrontation of Reiatsu. The reason why he took the initiative to choose this method is because of his confidence in Reiatsu, and Kenpachi wants to defeat Ling Yun in this way so as to win the wonderful and the beautiful. So that's how it is. Ling Yun still didn't change his face, letting Zanpakutō gradually enlarge. Actually, you are worrying too much, no matter which way, the result will be the same. And when saying this sentence, Zanpakutō of Kenpachi, Ogre Rock City, is less than 20 meters away from his forehead. This distance is enough to kill. Yes, seeing that Ling Yun was unmoved, he still stood there motionless. Gui Yancheng Kenpachi was very upset, the veins on the arm holding the sword burst out, and a ferocious smile appeared on his face. Hee, you seem to be very confident, I want to see how you will deal with it later. Next second, Shunpo. The original distance shortened, and the Ghost Rock City Kenpachi flashed, and instantly appeared in front of Ling Ku. Then swing Zanpakutō with all your might. Brush. Most of the Reiatsu was poured into this slash, and it even caused an explosion during the stroke, causing waves visible to the naked eye to appear in midair. The posture of swinging the sword is great, and the power of the slash is also very strong, but that's it. Ling Yun's face only showed obvious contempt. Without raising his head, he unhurriedly reached out to touch his waist, and pulled out Zanpakutō Yanmo neatly. Then he waved lightly forward. Shunpo. Chopping. After this smooth operation, the whole world seemed to freeze. Only traces of Ling Yun swinging a knife remained in the screen. A second later, Ling Yun appeared behind Kenpachi in Ghost Rock City, looking very handsome in appearance and back. How can that be? Ghost Rock City Kenpachi was dumbfounded, his body stiffened in place. There was a look of horror on that dark face. I saw a huge tearing wound on the front and back of Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City, and blood spurted out like a fountain while exposing bones. He turned to look at Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, with the same calm expression on his face. Silence. Oni Rock Castle Kenpachi was killed in a single encounter. But never expected, accompanied by a crisp tearing sound. Prickly. Including Aizen there, Everyone was silent, and their eyes kept turning back and forth on the Ghost Rock City Kenpachi and Ling Yun, and everyone was speechless. Although he looked down on Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, he didn't treat it as a bad fish. The atmosphere instantly became deathly silent. Isn't it? The winner is decided so quickly. This is definitely too outrageous. Tang Kenpachi was killed by one move. Not only him, other captains were also very surprised, even the captain of Yamamoto was no exception. This scene immediately caused an uproar. Ling Yun said coldly, Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, is the slashing technique you are proud of. If you only have this level, it seems that you are not worthy of being called Kenpachi at all. As the party involved, Ling Yun put away Zanpakutō calmly. Hiroko Shinji, who was the original provocateur, couldn't help showing a dumbfounded expression after seeing the wound on Kenpachi's body, and even subconsciously rubbed his eyes several times. Chapter 217 Instant kill with one move. The duel was quickly decided. Oni Rock Castle Kenpachi's chest and back, each with a huge wound. From the beginning to the end, Ling Yun only used one sword, and the result caused an uproar in the audience. Although all the captain-level Shinigami were present, everyone was silent. His eyes were firmly locked on Ling Yun. In the eyes of everyone, there is both amazement, emotion, and a bit of disbelief. As for all of this, Ling Yun, as the person involved, still had that indifferent expression on his face. He slowly put away the Zanpakutō, then turned to look at Kenpachi, Oni Rock City, and said in a cold voice, Kenpachi, Oni Rock City, is the slashing technique you are proud of. If it's only to this extent, it seems that you don't deserve to be called Kenpachi at all. The entire venue was silent, only Ling Yun's voice was left floating, clearly transmitted to everyone's ears. Not worthy of being called Kenpachi. The words of shame were branded in his heart, and Kenpachi, Weian City, was hit hard immediately. However, at this time he was already powerless to revolving heaven. The staggering figure may fall down at any time, and at the same time, it announces that this duel is officially over. From the very beginning, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City screamed, and then he collapsed with bruises all over his body. The whole process only took a few seconds, which suddenly caught everyone off guard. Well, Ghost Rock Kenpachi staggered. Blood gushed out of the wound continuously, and he barely managed to stabilize his body with all his strength. Ling Yun, you. Guiyancheng Kenpachi turned around and looked at Ling Yun with a horrified gaze, with an expression of disbelief on his ferocious face. Although the injuries on his body were serious, he knew very well in his heart that this was the result of Ling Yun's mercy. If Ling Yun wanted to kill him just now, let alone continue to stand here and talk, his own head would be cut off on the spot, and there would be no chance to continue talking at all. He will only be the only one, lying dead on the ground. After seeing through the results, Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City showed an expression of resignation and remorse. Recalling what happened just now, recalling his blind self-confidence and inflation, Kenpachi suddenly felt that his behavior was very ridiculous. This time he really lost his face in front of everyone. Damn, I lost. Oni Rock City Kenpachi blushed, and reluctantly admitted his defeat when he was furious. He was helpless, and after a heavy sigh, only despair remained on his face. No one can imagine that after this battle, he will be completely reduced to a laughingstock. Because he lost the face of the 11th team. And like Ling Yun said, he doesn't deserve the title of Kenpachi at all. After these words fell, some voices appeared in the place that was originally deathly silent. The captains finally regained their composure. Ling Yun is too strong. It was Kuna Mashiro who was the first to express emotion. She stood behind Muguruma Kensai, and her eyes almost glowed when she looked at Ling Yun. Even though they were both captains, they instantly killed each other with just one move. This power gap is too terrifying. Coupled with the fact that Ling Yun himself is very handsome, the pose and back view after the spike just now formed a pleasing picture, and Kuna Mashiro immediately became a nympho. Yeah, Captain Ling Yun, he is a terrifying monster. Not far away, Kyoraku Shunsui changed from his usual frivolity, and his facial expression appeared unusually dignified. After all, he was one of the veteran century-old captains, and among the many people present, he was one of the few who could clearly see the whole process of slashing. To be honest, Ling Yun's slash just now made even him feel terrified. Kyoraku Shunsui asked himself if it was him, it would take a lot of effort to be able to receive this slash stably. This difficulty is not small. With Kyoraku Shunsui's words, it caused an uproar like a stone stirring up 1,000 waves. Ask for flowers, The other two veteran captains like him, Jashiro Yukitaki and Unohana Retsu, performed the same way. Especially Unohana Retsu, the woman who was also Ling Yun's teacher and friend, a strange light flashed in the depths of her pupils. Strictly speaking, she is Ling Yun's teacher and Ling Yun's guide in kendo. Unohana Retsu was quite shocked by the strength Ling Yun showed just now, and she had to admit that she was surprised. Ling Yun, you really didn't disappoint me. There was a peaceful smile on Unohana Retsu's face. 0. She looked at Ling Yun silently, with admiration and Chen Zan in her eyes, obviously fully approving the other party's strength. In the opposite crowd, Tsurupe Hiyori was standing next to Hiroko Shinji, with the same shocked expression on his face. Hiroko, Ling Yun is too fierce, I didn't expect Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City to be killed by Japanese recruits. Hiroko Shinji nodded, also full of emotion. Yeah, I thought Kenpachi of Oni Rock City would resist a little bit, but I didn't expect it to be over at the beginning. The gap between the two is really big. As for the others, Mugaruma Kensai, Love Akawa, Odoribashi Rojiro, etc., all stood in place and sighed silently. Seeing is believing is the most shocking. They were so shocked that they couldn't say a word. And of all the people, only Yoruichi smiled, not surprised at all. After all, she is Ling Yun's biological sister, and she has the closest relationship with Ling Yun, so she said that such a result is a matter of course. But, no one noticed that Aizen, who was standing by the corner, also had a surprised expression. However, he thought about it silently, and also showed a stronger interest in Ling Yun. In this way, the battle was quickly over. The duel between the old and new captains, although it just started, ended very quickly. Chapter 218 Meeting Ichimaru Jin again. 73. As a result, everyone has seen it. Let's stop this battle. There is no need to continue. As the captain of the referee, seeing that Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City would fall at any time, he naturally chose to stop the battle in time. Otherwise, if he continued to fight, if Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City was really killed, then 11 the position of team leader is equivalent to being given for nothing. I have no opinion. Ling Yun put away Zanpakutō and nodded silently. Now that he has already defeated the opponent, there is no need to continue to chase and fight fiercely. After all, the opponent is also one of the current captains, and a little suppression is enough. After all, the old man had already reminded in advance that this was just an ordinary sparring, not to mention life and death. 29-3. So Ling Yun is a matter of course, selling Kenpachi of Ghost Rock City to save face. Otherwise, as the latter guessed, as long as he is willing, there are 10,000 ways to kill each other. Since the inauguration ceremony is over, let's leave here, everyone. In order to take into account Kenpachi's face, the captain then announced the end of the regular meeting. To save Kenpachi, Ghost Rock City, from being embarrassed by staying here alone. Regarding his decision, none of the captain-level Shinigami present had any objection, and everyone quickly left in an orderly manner, and the incident came to an end. After leaving the first team building, Ling Yun walked in the aisle alone. Due to the serious injury of the 10th team before, both the positive and negative captains have died. So Ling Yun was not accompanied by other people, in other words, he hadn't found a new adjutant yet. And according to Ling Yun's own opinion, the candidate for the vice captain of the 10th squad is naturally the little loli who has a close relationship with him, Matsumoto Rangaku. Matsumoto Rangaku, since she brought her back to Shihouin's house, she has officially taken root in this land. Later, the plot of the original novel was changed, and he entered the academy to practice in the same class as Ichimaru Jin. It's just that one talent is penultimate, while the other is mediocre talent, so Matsumoto Rangaku is still practicing in the Shino Soul Academy and it will take several years before graduation. Under such a premise, Ling Yun didn't think too much about the candidate for the adjutant. So the position was naturally vacant. It's time to take a trip to Junyang Lingyuan and take a look at the current situation of Rangaku. Ling Yun walked, thinking silently, and quickly made a decision secretly. Just then, suddenly there was a voice saying hello from behind. Hey, Ling Yun, oh, no, it should be Captain Ling Yun. This voice was a special Kyoto mouth, and Ling Yun stopped immediately when he heard it. Immediately afterwards, like a conditioned reflex, he slowly looked towards the back, and sure enough a familiar face came into view, his second apprentice, Ichimaru Jin. That's right. The person who stopped him behind his back was the super genius Ichimaru Jin who joined the 5th team not long ago. The young Ichimaru Jin, in fact, has not much difference in appearance from later. Under the short light blue hair, there is a pair of eyes that are always slightly squinted, and the overall facial smile looks like a fox, making it impossible to figure out his inner thoughts. Ichimaru Jin, this one was born in the last year, and it took about a year to successfully graduate from the Junyang Spiritual Academy, and after joining the team, it became the 3rd seat. Aside from talking about himself, Ichimaru Jin's achievements can almost be described as unprecedented. It is also for this reason that even though he has not been in the jingling court for a long time at a young age, he has become a topic of discussion in private. Never thought, the two actually met again in the Isle team dormitory. Silver, long time no see, Ling Yun greeted with a smile. For Ichimaru Jin, the undercover agent who will be undercover for a century in the future, he still likes it very much. After all, in the original plot, during the battle in Karakura town, Ichimaru Jin was the only one among so many captains who could hang Aizen on his body. This achievement alone is enough to instantly kill everyone. You too, teacher Ling Yun. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes and smiled, on his immature face was a cool fox smile. This is also his usual iconic smile. A fox smile. In less than a year, you successfully graduated and became the 3rd seed of the 5th team. Your performance is much better than I expected. Ling Yun did not hesitate to praise himself. Ah lie, teacher Ling Yun. Oh no, I should call you Captain Ling Yun now, and if we praise each other, Then we can skip it. The smile on Ichimaru Jin's face was not the slightest bit reduced. For a long time, in the eyes of outsiders, he has been a mysterious mystery. There are secrets hidden everywhere on the body, as if shrouded in a veil of mystery. Even if it is just passing by in the aisle, it will leave a mysterious smell. This is another feature of Ichimaru Jin that attracts the most attention. It is the same now. How about it? Are you still getting used to the 5th team? Ling Yun took the initiative to provoke the topic. In the 5th division, the biggest immediate boss is Hiriko Shinji, a nervous jerk with a very slack style of work, so he should not be too meddlesome. So according to Ling Yun's guess, Ichimaru Jin should have a good life in the 5th team. Hey, how should I say 1.0, it's actually a bit different from what I imagined, especially Captain Hiriko. Ichimaru Jin scratched his head, opened his eyes slightly, and revealed azure blue eyeballs. It's just that there is a little more embarrassment in the eyes, and this embarrassment comes from Hiriko Shinji. Is it because of Captain Hiriko? Ling Yun almost couldn't help laughing. He naturally guessed what Ichimaru Jin was thinking, and joked. Silver, just get used to it, Captain Hiriko is such a person, in fact, it's quite good well. Yeah, although Captain Hiriko is a bit out of touch, but fortunately there's Deputy Captain Aizen to help. When he said this, Ichimaru Jin's smile stopped for an instant. If you listen carefully, you will find that when saying the name, Aizen, Ichimaru Jin even deliberately emphasized his tone. Invincible Chapter 219, yes. Although Captain Hiriko is a bit out of touch, but fortunately, there's Vice Captain Aizen who knows. When he said this, Ichimaru Jin's smile paused for an instant. If you listen carefully, you will find that when saying the name, Aizen, Ichimaru Jin even deliberately emphasized his tone. The atmosphere instantly became weird. Ling Yun and Ichimaru Jin looked at each other, and both of them could read each other's thoughts. Aizen. This extremely dangerous man has been controlling everything behind the scenes. When I was in Rukongai, Ling Yun had an overnight talk with Ichimaru Jin, and there was a topic about Aizen. In order to assassinate Aizen and get back what Matsumoto Rangaku owned, Ichimaru Jin came to Jinglingding from 1,000 miles away, and this has always been his obsession. Really, Vice Captain Aizen, but he is the kindest guy most loved by the team members in the entire Godai 13. The corners of Ling Yun's mouth raised slightly, revealing a weird smile. This smile not only satirizes Aizen, but also empathizes with Ichimaru Jin. Aha. Even you think so? 11. It seems that the Vice Captain of Aizen is very popular. Ichimaru Jin still had a foxy smile on his face, but his tone of voice changed significantly. It's obvious. He deliberately increased the degree of yin and yang strangeness. That's right, then stay in the 5th team. Don't let down Aizen's Vice Captain's single-minded cultivation. He also single-handedly promoted you to the 3rd seat. Ling Yun restrained his smile a little. Well, sure enough, I can't hide anything from you, Captain Ling K. Ichimaru Jin is still smiling like a fox. Kill the original 3 seats to prove his own strength, then gain Aizen's trust, and stay by his side to monitor Aizen's every move. In a way, Ichimaru Jin and Hiriko Shinji both chose the same way. It's just that one is bright and the other is dark. Okay, let's not talk about Aizen, lest he keep sneezing later. Ling Yun made a joke at the right time. Then goodbye. Ichimaru Jin put away his smile and waved his hand cheerfully. His behavior, his words and deeds, simply don't match his age and appearance. The maturity is amazing, and many more. Just when Ichimaru Jin was about to leave, Ling Yun stopped him. Hey. Captain Ling Yun, is there anything else? Ichimaru Jin turned around slowly, tilted his head and looked at Ling Yun suspiciously. His words were full of puzzlement. Silver, are you interested in going to the Juban team? Ling Yun suggested suddenly. Team 10, Captain Ling Yun, don't you plan to? Ichimaru Jin hesitated for a moment, then asked tacitly, vaguely guessing something. That's right. Yin, come with me to the 10th squad. What if we don't have a match? I'd like to see your strength, Ling Yun said bluntly. It turned out to be a sparring session. I should have said it earlier, actually. I had the same idea. Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes and smiled, showing a foxy smile again. That's the deal. Ling Yun nodded in satisfaction, and suddenly became in a good mood. Ever since, the two of them went one after the other, and soon came to a team together. The 10th Division team building, a secret training place. Silver. This is probably the first time for you to come to this kind of place. This is a private training ground that can only be used by captains. Under Ling Yun's leadership, the two came to the center of the field, and Ling Yun said with a smile. Nah, this time, I really took advantage of you, Captain Ling Yun. After seriously inquiring about the 4 weeks, Ichimaru Jin showed a mysterious smile. To be honest, private training venues, this kind of thing sounds tall, and this is really the first time he has come into contact with it. Silver, if you are interested, you can come to the Juban team anytime, and it can be provided to you for free here as well. Ling Yun teased with a deliberate smile. Tisk, Captain Ling Yun, you really know how to joke, you know I won't agree, right? Ichimaru Jin shook his head, but he didn't care. Come to the Juban team frequently? Just coming here once is already risking being investigated by Aizen. It was okay the first time, and I could find a reason to explain it clearly. If you come to the 10th squad frequently in the future, with Aizen's scheming and wisdom, you will definitely see the clues. This is not conducive to his century-old undercover plan. Ichimaru Jin is definitely not coming. Okay, let's start, so as not to waste time later. Ling Yun gestured with a smile. Next, in the middle of the training ground, the two confronted each other. Instead of talking and laughing before, when it was time to really learn from each other, the atmosphere became serious instead. Although Ichimaru Jin is thin and small, when confronting Ling Yun, his aura is not inferior to the opponent in the slightest. He grinned, and took the initiative to challenge Ling Yun. Captain Ling Yun, you'd better tense your nerves later, my Zanpakutō won't show mercy. After saying this, Ichimaru Jin reached for the girdle and pulled out the Zanpakutō Shinso. And with it, there is his own Ryatsu. Boom, Ryatsu, who was close to the captain's level, was released without reservation. 587. Like a big wave, it erupted suddenly in the room, setting off wave after wave in the air, and immediately blowing away the dust and gravel on the ground. Area. Silver, I have to say that the strength of your Ryatsu is not bad. It seems that you have improved a lot in the past year. Ling Yun's expression remained unchanged while his whole body was enveloped in the opponent's Ryatsu. Instead, he smiled and took the initiative to praise the other party. Undeniable. At Ichimaru Jin's age, it is really amazing to have this level of Ryatsu. But in Ling Yun's opinion, it was still a little bit worse. In the past, he had fought Zaraki Kenpachi after all. Ichimaru Jin's Ryatsu, compared to Zaraki Kenpachi, is obviously a level worse. So naturally he didn't feel the slightest bit. Oh, I was underestimated. It seems that I have to prove my strength later. Looking at Ling Yun's expression and listening to what he said, Ichimaru Jin frowned slightly. Obviously he is not satisfied with Ling Yun's evaluation of himself. Ichimaru Jin, let's do our best later. Ling Yun nodded slightly. Captain Ling Yun, what about you, don't you intend to use Zanpakutō? Ichimaru Jin asked curiously. No matter how he looked, he couldn't see Ling Yun's intention to draw the sword. This is very strange. Invincible Chapter 220, oops. I have been underestimated. It seems that I have to prove my strength later. Looking at Ling Yun's expression and listening to what he said, Ichimaru Jin frowned slightly. Obviously he is not satisfied with Ling Yun's evaluation of himself. Ichimaru Jin, I will try my best to shoot later. Ling Yun nodded slightly. Captain Ling Yun, what about you, don't you plan to use Zanpakutō? Ichimaru Jin asked curiously. No matter how he looked, he couldn't see Ling Wei's intention to draw the sword. This is very strange. Draw the knife? There's no need at all. Ling Yun shook his head indifferently. This does not mean arrogance, but actually comes from the self-confidence in the bones. That's right, it's confidence, is it? That's a little unpleasant. Ichimaru Jin's brows deepened. Immediately afterwards, he held Zanpakutō firmly, and at the same time, Zanpakutō's liberation words came out of his mouth. Shoot it, Shinso. The moment when the liberation language was spoken. The Zanpakutō in Ichimaru Jin's hand burst into a dazzling light, and then turned into a white light, piercing towards Ling Yun's body in a very short time. Zanpakutō Shinso, Department of Physics Zanpakutō, the most direct attack method is the ordinary piercing. Speed is its scariest place. Once the Shinso is unsheathed, it is capable of many penetrations back and forth within a thousandth of a second. Once the opponent can't react, it will definitely be pierced by Shinso. However, Ling Yun is not an ordinary person after all. Silver, your Zanpakutō Shinso has more potential than the other Zanpakutō I've met. If Bankai is awakened, the power will be amazing. Ling Yun smiled. Let Shinso's piercing magnify in his eyes, but his face never changes. 50 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. When the distance was less than 10 meters, Ling Yun finally responded. Boom. The terrifying Ryatsu that surpassed the ordinary captain level erupted in a very short period of time, spreading out to the surroundings like a deep and far-reaching tsunami, and soon covered the entire area. Even with the entire 10th Division team building as no exception. The team members and chief executives outside were immediately alarmed. Everyone looked at this side with puzzled eyes. It's just that because of the secrecy of the venue, they couldn't see the situation inside clearly. Scary Ryatsu. Enveloped in the Ryatsu storm, Ichimaru Jin's tiny face suddenly showed embarrassment. He even has a feeling that he is almost suffocating. I didn't expect that after such a long time, the gap between us is still so big. In Ichimaru Jin's mind, many thoughts suddenly popped up, and his mood became very complicated. When he was in Rukongai, he had fought against Ling Yun many times, and he had also experienced the strength of this master. I thought that I practiced for a year and amazed the entire Godai 13. After becoming the third seed of the 5th team, the gap with Ling Yun will gradually narrow. Duh. Unexpectedly, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. Damn it. It seems that the gap between people will not be shortened with time and hard work. Ichimaru Jin clenched his teeth lightly, his eyes full of unwillingness. As a genius, and not very old, he naturally has a strong desire to win. It would be a lie to say that I am not reconciled. And what happened next made him even more desperate. I saw Shinso's slash, that is, the dashing white light, before it could touch Ling Yun's body, it was bounced away by the substantial Ryotsu storm. The result was like this, just like the duel during the day, it almost ended soon. Ichimaru Jin's expression at this moment is the same as Kenpachi's, full of helplessness and depression. He shut himself up immediately. Hey, Yin, have you seen it now? This is the strength of the captain level. If you want to surpass me, master, you need to practice more. Ling Yun joked with a smile. Immediately afterwards, he reached out to touch his waist, and finally touched Zanpakutō out. Silver, next, let me show you the real difference. Ling Yun held Zanpakutō with his backhand, immediately afterwards. Zanpakutō Shikai sounded. Served by the evil god, defending my exhausted body. Yan Mo dark scythe. Ling Yun's words were resounding. Zanpakutō in his hand, with the sound of the voice, radiates a dark light. The whole venue suddenly shines with light. The eye-catching Shinigami sickle, along with the dissipation of the black light, condensed into shape in Ling Yun's hands. Yan Mo's aura immediately swept the audience. Hey, Captain Ling Yun, your Zanpakutō seems to be a bit different? Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes slightly, and looked at Zanpakutō Enma suspiciously. In memory, Yan Mo is a pure black sickle and has the title of Death Scythe. Why are there more red and black tones now? Silver, I seem to have taught you, no matter what, don't get distracted during the battle. Your actions just now have violated Wang Nuo's big taboo. Just when Ichimaru Jin was puzzled, Ling Yun was not too satisfied with his performance. And the moment these words fell, Ling Yun's words even stayed in place, and his figure had disappeared in an instant. Response. It's not the shunpo that Shinigami is used to, but a skill unique to Menos Grande. The figure of Ling Yun appeared in front of Ichimaru Jin in an instant, as if jumping through space. Zanpakutō Yan Mo in his hand, the blade shone with red luster, and a terrifying evil spirit burst out instantly. This is 8,000 streams of kendo. What a powerful slash, crazy. It's not just Ryotsu, not just Shikai, is there such a big difference in sword skills? Looking at the gradually enlarged sickle in his eyes, Ichimaru Jin was stunned for a moment. A feeling of death arises spontaneously. Chapter 221 Hogyoku is born. What a powerful slash. It's not just Ryotsu, not just Shikai, is there such a big difference in sword skills? Looking at the gradually enlarged sickle in his eyes, Ichimaru Jin was stunned for a moment. A feeling of death arises spontaneously. It wasn't until this moment that he really understood how big the gap between himself and Ling Yun was. This gap is so large that it is irreparable. Silver, standing still? This is not a good choice. Looking at Ichimaru Jin's reaction and the expression on his face, the corner of Ling Yun's mouth curled up in a playful arc. Although Ichimaru Jin's expression was very exciting, but Ling Yun did not intend to stop, and even increased his strength in waving Yan Mo's arm, causing waves of breaking wind along the way. Swipe swipe. A sharp wind hit her face, blowing away the bangs on her forehead. The feeling of death intensified. Ichimaru Jin clenched his teeth desperately, feeling like he was hovering at the gate of hell in his heart, but unfortunately there was nothing he could do now. Ended. Teacher Ling Yun, the 990 gap between us is really huge, and I'm almost powerless to fight back. Ichimaru Jin closed his eyes wisely, and didn't intend to make any struggle. It's not that he doesn't want to, but that he has no way at all. Facing Yan Mo's death slash, he has no way to deal with it. F*3. Just when Yan Mo's blade was less than 1 meter away from Ichimaru Jin's forehead. Ling Yun's movement of swinging the knife still stagnated after all. Gulu. Ichimaru Jin opened his eyes, and the first image that caught his eyes was Yan Mo's sharp and translucent blade. Within a short distance, the feeling became more real, so Ichimaru Jin had to swallow his saliva, and the fear of death hit the deepest part of his heart. Hey, Teacher Ling Yun, you still have a good hand at playing tricks on people. Ichimaru Jin was ashamed, showing an embarrassed smile, and stood there motionless. If Ling Yun had any killing intent, his head would have been chopped off countless times. Silver, how is it? This feeling is very exciting. The corners of Ling Yun's mouth turned up slightly. He put away Yan Mo, came to Ichimaru Jin, and then played a thump with a smile. Boom! The fingertips flicked precisely on Ichimaru Jin's forehead, leaving a red mark immediately. Well, Ichimaru Jin could not help but groan. This is a small punishment. You must remember it in the future, and you must not be distracted during the battle. The white Captain Yuri fluttered in the wind, and Ling Yun smiled vigorously and said with a smile. Captain Ling Yun, it's getting late, I should go back to the 5th Division. Ichimaru Jin nodded, then looked up at the clouds in the sky, and shook his head pretending to be helpless. Oh, think about it, how to deal with Aizen's vice-captain's interrogation. If he suspects it, the original plan will fall short. The moment the words fell, a bit of cold light flashed in Ichimaru Jin's pupils. That is the intent to kill Aizen. Go, this is the last time, we master and apprentice will never have such an opportunity to meet alone in the future. Ling Yun cast an encouraging look. It has to be said that in order to avenge Matsumoto Rangaku, he risked danger and lurked by Aizen's side. Ling Yun has to praise Ichimaru Jin for his persistence and courage. In the end, Ichimaru Jin secretly left the Juban team, and the reminiscence between master and apprentice also ended. Time flies. BBDG, 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. During these 3 months, under the leadership of Ling Yun, the Juban team has become completely new. The team buildings, players, and the management order within the team, after his hands-on deployment and leadership, are completely reborn compared to before. The days passed like this. If there are no accidents, Ling Yun's daily life will be easy, and this will continue for a long time, until the accident on the night of Hollow. Yeah. I specially notified you to come here because of another brand new discovery. Seeing his appearance, Ling Yun couldn't help becoming curious, and asked, Captain Urahara, what invention is it that makes you so excited? Ling Yun, you are finally here, and I have good news for you. Leaving the 10th team, along the long winding corridor, Ling Yun soon came to the 12th team's building, the Technology Development Bureau building full of instruments. After Urahara Kazuki said these words, Ling Yun understood instantly. You're confused, right? In fact, this is a product I created unintentionally in an experiment, and this product has extremely powerful abilities, which even makes me feel very dangerous. As soon as Ling Yun walked into the room, he heard Urahara Kazuki's voice. Perhaps because of the new invention, Urahara Kazuki's expression seemed a little agitated. Otherwise, he would definitely not be easily agitated. Sure enough, almost without thinking, Urahara Kazuki nodded abruptly. Captain Urahara, it's rare to see you so excited. Did you conduct some strange experiment again? Looking at the other party's appearance, Ling Yun couldn't help but guess. Urahara Kazuki took a deep breath, calmed down a little, and then explained clearly. How should I put it? It is a special spirit instrument, which can temporarily seal the spirit in a short period of time. Although it sounds like nothing special, but this instrument has extraordinary significance. 9 out of 10 of the new inventions he speaks of are artifacts that affect the entire Shinigami world, the thing of the gods, Hogyoku. When mentioning this new invention, Urahara Kazuki took a deep breath. He changed his usual idleness, his facial expression became extremely serious, and his body trembled uncontrollably. Just one day, Ling Yun suddenly received the news, Urahara Kazuki's invitation. Obviously can't hide my excitement, Urahara Kazuki said a lot, and Ling Yun became more and more curious after listening. Of extraordinary significance? In general, with the character of Urahara Kazuki, unless it is the result of an unprecedented experiment. Chapter 222 The First Hogyoku, Ling Yun, are you confused now? Actually, this is a product I created unintentionally during an experiment, and this product has extremely powerful abilities, which even makes me feel very dangerous. After Urahara Kazuki said these words, Ling Yun understood instantly. 9 out of 10 of the new inventions he is talking about are God, tools that affect the entire Shinigami world, God's thing Hogyoku. Hogyoku. A product created unintentionally is really amazing. Ling Yun thought silently in his heart. The way the legendary god object Hogyoku was born made him feel very surprised. Remember the first 2 hollow experiments? Urahara Kazuki then asked. Remember. I was tricked by you back then. Ling Yun showed a wry smile helplessly. The emptiness born in the body was created because of the hollow experiment. Fortunately, this problem was perfectly solved in the end. Otherwise, it will be like a time bomb that may explode at any time. Who can stand this? The thing I'm going to introduce today was also born because of the soul of the virtual. Urahara Kazuki introduced with an excited face, almost dancing. A product that is fused with Shu's soul? After hearing this, Ling Yun felt emotional. He can be sure that his guess is correct. Urahara Kazuki's latest research product is Hogyoku. Regarding Ling Yun's reaction, Urahara Kazuki didn't pay too much attention to it. He took it for granted that it was a normal reaction. After all, apart from Aizen in the dark, he is the only one who dares to do it on the surface. It is not surprising that outsiders are shocked when they hear it. After all, the hollow experiment has to take huge risks, and if it overturns, it will pay a heavy price. This kind of high-risk thing, even if it produces an accidental product, is actually within the acceptable range of Urahara Kazuki. But, alas! Urahara Kazuki then sighed. Recalling the birth of the fusion product after the experiment, he couldn't help worrying. Although it is only a prototype, I have a feeling of uneasiness. Captain Urahara, you've been talking about it here for a long time, and I still don't know what the so-called it is. Ling Yun pretended not to know, and said helplessly, spreading his hands. Regarding Ling Yun's complaints, Urahara Kazuki put away his voice, first glanced cautiously around, then leaned into Ling Yun's ear, and said solemnly. Come with me, Ling Yun, that thing was taken by my most secret corner. 13. Ling Yun nodded noncommittally. He is also eager to see the prototype of Hogyoku. Then, under the leadership of Urahara Kazuki, Ling Yun followed him all the way to the basement, one of the rooms with a security door. This room was remodeled by Urahara Kazuki. There are a lot of instruments and devices inside, which can block all kinds of Ryotsu fluctuations to the greatest extent. Its function is not inferior to that of the murderous stone. After arriving at the safe room, Ling Yun deliberately glanced around. The room is full of various instruments, and there are a lot of research materials on the table. Obviously this is the small black room where Urahara Kazuki conducts secret research in private. Well. The environment here may be a little messy, so please bear with it a little bit. After leading Ling Yun into the room, Urahara Kazuki smiled awkwardly. He is used to doing research sloppy, so he didn't pay much attention to it. But Ling Yun is an outsider after all, and he is still the current captain, so it seems a little impolite to be in a mess. It's okay. Ling Yun had an expression of, I understand. Urahara Kazuki nodded, then cleared his throat, and emphasized solemnly, Ling Yun, don't blame me for being so cautious, after all, this is a brand new product. After Urahara Kazuki finished speaking, he turned and walked to the interior of the house. He came to an experimental table, picked up a remote control instrument placed on the table, and pressed it lightly. Immediately after a bang, a square pillar rose out of nowhere in the place in front of Urahara Kazuki, and a transparent glass cover was placed on it. Afterwards, Ling Yun tried to reach out, wanting to touch the glass cover. However, he was soon stopped by Urahara Kazuki. To be on the safe side, he asked Ling Yun to step back a little, and then he did it himself. With a stride, he came to Urahara Kazuki, kept looking at it with curious eyes, and couldn't help asking, Captain Urahara, I can clearly feel its fluctuations. Although the prototype of Hogyoku has not yet awakened, it has not been sealed either. And it is also the source of all turmoil. It is the source of the abnormal fluctuation that Ling Yun felt just now. The top of the glass cover is covered by a piece of black cloth, and it is temporarily unclear what is going on immediately. Urahara Kazuki shook his head, and carefully persuaded, Hey, Ling Yun, let me do it. After all, you have Hollow's power integrated into your body. It would be bad if there was a mutation in 50. To be able to witness the birth of Hogyoku, a thing of the gods, and to participate in such a special event is naturally a very interesting experience. At this moment, looking at the black cloth glass cover, Ling Yun instantly had an unusually familiar feeling. I saw a crystal clear energy light ball floating in the center of the glass cover. The ball of light looked pitch black, and at the same time emitted a powerful wave. Tisk tisk tisk. The first outsider to watch it, then I'm quite proud. Ling Yun showed a faint smile. It's in a very delicate state right now. Urahara Kazuki slowly removed the black cloth covering the glass cover. Then the situation inside was revealed. Really, even with the isolation device installed, the fluctuations it emits are still so strong. What a terrifying thing. Urahara Kazuki shook his head. His eyes burst into a burst of intense light, but its name has not yet been determined, and you are the first outsider to see it. It really is the embryonic form of Hogyoku, but it doesn't look very beautiful without awakening. Observing Hogyoku up close, Ling Yun has mixed feelings in his heart. Chapter 223 Let's call it Hogyoku. It really is the embryonic form of Hogyoku, but it doesn't look very beautiful without awakening. Observing Hogyoku up close, Ling Yun has mixed feelings in his heart. Although the prototype of Hogyoku has not yet awakened, it has not been sealed either. It's in a very delicate state right now, and it is also the source of all turmoil. But, Captain Urahara, it seems to be in a rather delicate state now. What are you going to do next? Ling Yun looked at Hogyoku and asked curiously. About this question. Urahara Kazuki tidied up his hairstyle, took a serious look at Hogyoku, and then said in a deep voice. Although it is just a prototype, it makes me have a strong sense of crisis. And after it was born unintentionally, I have 863. I want to follow up the research direction, so you don't have to worry about this at all. Oh. How do you say it? Ling Yun raised his eyebrows with interest. Urahara Kazuki cleared his throat, and then said in a deep voice, Since it was born, it is a special product condensed from the souls of hundreds of ghosts. So is there a guess? The opposite of the virtual soul is the soul of the Shinigami. If there is a chance to obtain the soul of other Shinigami or Rukongai residents, it may be possible to create the same thing. And if these two objects are fused with each other, it may be born. Something unimaginable. Urahara Kazuki talked a lot. For his conjecture, he actually has a strong will to implement it. It's a pity that as a Shinigami and the captain of the 12th Division, it is impossible for him to blackmail his colleagues, and it is impossible for him to harm the residents of Rukongai. So he had no choice but to give up this idea, and was forced to helplessly suppress his scientific research mentality. So you plan to seal it temporarily, right? Ling Yun continued to ask. That's right. After all, this thing is a time bomb. You must not leak this news, otherwise it will bring unknown danger to the Soul Society. Urahara Kazuki's face was serious, and he said every word. That is because, if my guess is correct, it is an existence that can break the Shinigami restrictions. After speaking, Urahara Kazuki took a deep breath, and the inner emotions were calmed down for a long time. In fact, since he became a Shinigami that year, he has been subtly accepting a message. The power of a Shinigami is actually not endless, and there will be a limit after reaching a certain level. Once the bottleneck period is reached, no matter how powerful the talent and strength are, Shinigami's Reiatsu's upside will be limited to a certain extent, which is an irreversible iron law. It seems that it has been more than 2,000 years, even the old man with the title of strongest, although he has stood at the peak of Shinigami for a long time, he has never broken the barrier of Shinigami. And now, because of an unintentional experiment, the problem that could not be solved for more than 2,000 years was solved because of the birth of Hogyoku. Thinking of this, a wry smile appeared on Urahara Kazuki's face. Isn't that good? This is an unprecedented invention, you should be happy, right? Ling Yun patted his shoulder and made a timely joke. The originally tense atmosphere eased a little. Facing Ling Yun's compliment, Urahara Kazuki's expression was neither happy nor sad, because he didn't have any trace of pride in his heart. He silently shook his head, then sighed heavily. To be honest, I don't think it's a good thing, but it's also very reluctant to give up halfway, so I called you over after being very entangled. I understand how you feel. After hearing this, Ling Yun nodded empathetically, and comforted him. As a scientist, being forced to give up new inventions is indeed a very helpless choice. Quote. But, Ling Yun paused for a moment, then turned his gaze back to Hogyoku, and then suggested, Captain Urahara, this thing should not have a name yet, why don't we give him a name first? Name it. Urahara Kazuki's eyes lit up instantly. To be reasonable, regarding the matter of naming, because there were too many worries and concerns before, he really didn't think about it for a while. Well, are you interested? Ling Yun showed a faint smile, and finally managed to change the subject. I'm actually not very good at choosing names, but I can really think about it. Urahara Kazuki hesitated for a moment, and finally nodded reluctantly. Then, Urahara Kazuki, who has never been very sure about naming things, finally came up with a name after thinking for a long time. Well, I think, since this is a black bead, how about simply calling it a black ball, if it's simple and rude? What kind of bullshit name is this? Can you be more perfunctory? Upon hearing such an outrageous name of black ball, Ling Yun immediately rolled his eyes. Nima, what the hell is a black ball? Seeing Ling Yun's disgusted expression, Urahara Kazuki immediately reacted, showing an embarrassed smile, and smiled. Captain Ling Yun, you asked me to name me again, and I'm not very good at such things. After speaking, he deliberately spread his hands to show his innocence. The corners of Ling Yun's mouth twitched constantly. Captain Urahara. Point 5.6. Since this thing can break the boundaries of Shinigami, doesn't it deserve to have a tall name? Ling Yun was really powerless to complain. That makes sense, but. The corners of Urahara Kazuki's mouth twitched, and then his eyes rolled, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Captain Ling Yun, why don't you come? What? That's right, it's you who come, it's fine if you come to get a name. You are such a clever little ghost. Although Ling Yun had no choice but to accept Urahara Kazuki's evasion. After all, he is a time traveler, and he already knew the name, Hogyoku, in his heart. So without any thought, Ling Yun just blurted out, Hogyoku. Chapter 224 The Storm Rises Again. Without thinking, Ling Yun just blurted out, Hogyoku. Hogyoku. After hearing the name, Urahara Kazuki was stunned for a moment, and then his eyes burst into a strong light. I think the name Hogyoku is okay. Urahara Kazuki nodded in agreement. Hogyoku, compared to the black ball he mentioned before, is not known how many times taller. Captain Ling Yun, why did you think of the name Hogyoku? Urahara Kazuki asked curiously. Hogyoku, just because you said just now, it can break the order and rules of the Soul Society for thousands of years, allowing Shinigami to break through the original restrictions and continue to grow stronger, so it shattered the old order. I see. Urahara Kazuki couldn't help giving a thumbs up after listening. He said with some insight, Hogyoku is indeed a good name. To be honest, as a creator of 11, I was really too timid before. I should regain my confidence and continue to study. If the research continues, what will Hogyoku eventually become? In fact, he didn't have any confidence in his heart. Urahara Kazuki only knows that this is a double-edged sword. If it succeeds, forget it. But if the research fails, it may bring unimaginable disaster to the Soul Society. So when he is alone, he often struggles with this matter. Now that Ling Yun came over, Urahara Kazuki calmed down a little. Yeah, Captain Urahara, I think you're worrying too much. Ling Yun put his hands on his shoulders, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and then encouraged, don't forget. You even solved my hollow problem perfectly a while ago. In fact, what else can be difficult for you? Quote. I see, thank you for your concern. Urahara Kazuki nodded thoughtfully. The original wavering and self-doubt disappeared at this moment. Then, after talking for a while, Ling Yun left the Technology Development Bureau in a good mood. This time, I not only named Hogyoku, but also negotiated with Urahara Kazuki. If I have time, I can often come to the 12th Squad and secretly participate in the follow-up research and development of Hogyoku with him. Be able to witness the growth of Hogyoku, the thing of God. It doesn't get any better than this. Time flies. A week passed in a blink of an eye. In the 5th Division team building, one of the spacious aisles. Oops, Vice Captain Eisen, really, it's a bit frustrating to call me to the team office all of a sudden in such a cold weather. Ichimaru Jin, who is thin and thin, with white and silver hair, it's the iconic fox smile. Ichimaru Jin narrowed his eyes, walking alone in the aisle, his figure cast a slanted shadow on the ground, getting closer and closer to the team office. Finally, When he came to the door of the team affairs room, he glanced inside. At this time, the lights in the team office were bright, and the light passed through the gap in the door, dispelling the darkness outside the door, and shining on Ichimaru-jin's face. Boom boom boom. Ichimaru-jin had just knocked on the door when a voice answered from inside. Come in, Silver. Whether it's day or night, Aizen's voice is as gentle as ever, and people can't help but let their guard down. Squeak. Ichimaru-jin silently opened the door. The first thing that catches the eye is the figure of Aizen sitting cross-legged in front of the big case. Due to the low temperature at night, Aizen was wearing a coat, with thick bangs hanging down in front of his forehead, and the pair of black-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose gave him a special scholarly atmosphere. Honest man. That's what everyone says about Aizen. His temperament and image, as well as his daily behavior, also confirmed this statement. Almost flawless. Stepping through the gate and walking towards the wooden table step by step, Ichimaru-jin squinted his eyes slightly, and his eyes fell on Aizen. Vice Captain Aizen, I'm here, you haven't waited too long, have you? Silver, it's good to be here, sit down quickly. Aizen glanced up at him and responded with a gentle smile. Okay. Ichimaru-jin came to the wooden case, sat down familiarly, and then deliberately provoked the topic. Aizen Vice Captain, it's not just that you called me over in the cold just to say hi to me. At a young age, he was able to secure the position of the third seat of the 5th division. As a super genius, regardless of his former master Ling Yun, Ichimaru-jin's talent can be said to be once in 100 years. However, despite his popularity, he is usually a maverick in Gote 13. That is because, no matter when and where, Ichimaru-jin always maintains a neutral attitude, neither getting close to anyone, nor deliberately alienating some people. Among all people, only by supporting his blue 527 die can Ichimaru-jin be recognized. This is not even as good as Hirako Shinji. For this reason, outsiders have no way of understanding, and this matter has gradually become a mystery. Well, Aizen didn't answer Ichimaru-jin's question immediately. He looked at Ichimaru-jin calmly and said after a long time, Silver, I want to ask you, what do you think of Urahara Kazuki? Captain Urahara of Division 12. Ichimaru-jin gave a light sigh at first, obviously surprised by this question. Urahara Kazuki, how did Aizen suddenly become interested in him? This question flashed by, and Ichimaru-jin quickly dropped the idea, and after thinking about it for a while, he said without hesitation, how should I put it, about Captain Urahara, I think he hides a lot of secrets. Really? After hearing Ichimaru-jin's answer, Aizen's mouth curled up, and he smiled and said, Silver, we really are like-minded people, I didn't expect you to have exactly the same views as me. So, can I entrust you with a task next? The lights in front of the wooden case reflected on the face, and the corners of Aizen's mouth looked inexplicably mysterious. Invincible Chapter 225. So, can I entrust you with a task next? The lights in front of the wooden case reflected on the face, and the corners of Aizen's mouth looked inexplicably mysterious. The sudden question caused Ichimaru-jin, who was sitting opposite, to freeze immediately. He smacked his mouth, opened his eyes a little bit, still looking frivolous, and asked, Oh. Vice Captain Aizen, you actually entrusted me with a mission. After finishing speaking, he still looked frivolous, as if he didn't care about anything. In fact, this is just an illusion. Ichimaru-jin's slightly squinted eyes revealed a gleam of wisdom, as if he was secretly capturing some information. Silver, there doesn't seem to be any surprise on your expression. Could it be that you have already prepared yourself and expected that I would say this? Looking directly at Aizen, the corners of Aizen's mouth slightly raised, revealing an intriguing smile. In fact, most of the time, Aizen can't help but wonder, what is Ichimaru-jin's real intention? Is it to assassinate yourself? And how to assassinate? When will you choose to start? For these, Aizen actually knew it already, but he was also observing in secret. And what about Ichimaru-jin? Always smiling with squinted eyes, this iconic fox smile makes people never guess his swaying position, just like Lion Majesty hiding in the dark and looking for opportunities. The two have a tacit understanding and have always been with each other. To put it bluntly, this is an exceptionally high-end acting show. After a while, Ichimaru-jin put away his smile, then touched the silver hair on his head, and then spread his hands to express his impatience. Let me tell you, Vice Captain Aizen, what is the mission you just mentioned? Could it be? Is it really just looking for me to chat with you when you are idle? After Ichimaru-jin finished speaking, he leaned on the chair and sighed helplessly. Silver, you seem to be in a hurry. Aizen's expression didn't change because of Ichimaru-jin's performance. The smile at the corner of his mouth deepened, and he continued with a calm face. Silver, we just talked about Urahara Kazuki, are you interested in finding out about him? So that's how it is. After Aizen finished speaking, Ichimaru-jin's movement of stroking his hair stopped abruptly. He raised his head with great interest, his slightly squinted eyes widened slightly, as if a little light had bloomed, and said with a light smile, Vice Captain Aizen, it seems that you are very suspicious of Captain Urahara. Suspicious. Aizen thought for a moment, then nodded noncommittally. Silver, don't you think that, apart from his secretive and weird behavior, Urahara Kazuki has been hiding something? While talking, Aizen pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose lightly, his eyes fell on the lamp above the wooden table, and said in a deep voice, I think this matter has something to do with the Technology Development Bureau, so. Quote. So what? Ichimaru Jin stretched his waist, accepted Aizen's words, and said lazily, Vice Captain Aizen, do you want me to investigate a scientific planner? This seems quite interesting. So you agree? Aizen asked with interest. Otherwise, can I still refuse you? Ichimaru Jin laughed dumbly, then deliberately lowered his voice, however. Vice Captain Aizen, I think you seem to have overlooked someone. Aizen glanced at Ichimaru Jin, and asked knowingly, are you referring to Ling Yun? In fact, you are right, he is also a person that I can't figure out. Hearing this, Ichimaru Jin didn't change his face, and nodded in default, that's right, although I haven't had much contact with him. But Captain Ling has always been in the limelight. Aizen nodded. That's right, I noticed that he and Urahara Kazuki are walking very close, there should be some kind of dark secret between them, that's why I purposely talked with you in secret tonight. Aha, so that's the reason. Ichimaru Jin waved his hand, and then pretended to be dissatisfied and complained. Hey, Aizen Vice Captain, to put it bluntly, you want me to investigate them. Actually, although this is not a difficult task, let me tell you in advance that I cannot guarantee 100% completion of the task. Ichimaru Jin, although there are only 3 seats on the surface, his strength has long surpassed any vice captain. Of course, apart from Aizen, this secret is not even known to the other members of the 5th division, let alone other members of the division. Quote. Really, Silver, you don't need to worry at all. Quote. He raised his eyes lightly, and then replied casually. Oh, Vice Captain Aizen, you have so many questions, you know I'm going to kill you. It seems that things like killing people have become a matter of course. This is his confidence. Aizen ignored this question directly, his eyes suddenly became sharp, and he asked instead, Silver, what if your whereabouts are suddenly revealed when you infiltrate the 12th division, and you will be there again at that time? How to do it? Self-investigating to Captain Class Shinigami is a dangerous thing. I believe that with your delicate mind, you should be able to settle Hiyori Sarupe, right? Aizen's words contained absolute confidence, and he seemed to be particularly optimistic about Ichimaru Jin. Ichimaru Jin's smiling face showed a special arc. This is also the biggest, good money, secret of Ichimaru Jin. Of course. Ichimaru Jin smiled lightly, that pockmarked face, it's actually not that bad, Vice Captain Aizen, you think so too, right? The moment these words fell, Ichimaru Jin's eyes burst out with fierce murderous intent. Aizen smiled, and then revealed a piece of news. As far as I know, Urahara Kazuki will go to Jinglingting to attend the banquet at Shihouin's house tomorrow night, so when he left the 12th Division team building, this is your best time to sneak in. But in fact, this is also very normal. After all, regarding this question, Ichimaru Jin squinted his eyes and ignored it.